Hello, everyone. We are back with another day of the StarCast TV Season 2. This time it is Group G, and as you can see, our standout player in this group is, of course, Best, but he's got a couple of opponents here that I think could give him some tough matches. We've got Jeter, Ample, and Yoon. We haven't seen Yoon in a long time. I actually had to look him up on Wikipedia because I was like, man, I feel like I recognize this name, but I haven't seen him in a while. And the reason I haven't seen him in a while is last time I saw him was in ASL 10. And then Jeter, we saw him last season. He actually had some really good games versus some tough opponents. But again, he's got some tough opponents once more, so it's going to be another group for him that's going to be pretty hard to get out of. And then Ample, I think he's probably the second place guy to beat here. I think he's probably the favorite, but you never know. So let's get into our groups, take a look at the rundown so far. We've gotten through 6 groups already. This is one of the last 2 remaining ones. Our last group coming up soon, or in the next few days, is Group H. And that one, you gotta bet money that Minnie's most likely gonna make it out of it, just because of how deadly he is across all the matchups. And then after that, I don't know, I think it's a fight for second place. My heart says Mong, but 815, he's a deadly player. Can mix in literally every type of all-in. And then Noob, I've been seeing him stream more often, albeit I've seen him also streaming some League of Legends, but not too sure how strong he's going to be in this group, but I think he's got a chance also. But with that said, let's get into today's matchups. Our first game is going to be Best, and he'll be facing off versus Jeter. And of course, we've got Ample versus Yoon as our second match. Let's get into game 1, and let's see who's going to be our first player moving into the winner's bracket, or the winner's side of the bracket. And right now, just waiting for Cruiser to share the screen, and there we go. All right, so in the top right, we do have our whitish Terran. It is Jeter. And in the bottom left, we've got our yellow Protoss. It is Best. Now, before we got into today's games, Cruiser was telling me the meaning behind Jeter's name. Last season, I wasn't really sure, is it Jeter, is it Jiter? I had a feeling it was Jeter just because in Korean they don't really have the I type of sound. But this guy's real life name is Bae Ji-un. So his name actually gets combined and it becomes Bae Ji-ta. And for those of you out there that may already hear it, it's based on Dragon Ball. And apparently the Koreans kind of meme his name as Vegeta. So we've got Vegeta Man playing here, and he's going up against a strong opponent. Maybe not the level of Goku, but Best is a really, really strong player. It's going to be really tough for Vegeta here to overcome him. So we've got Best opening up with Gateway Opener, of course. Not going to be a 12 Nexus this time. And Jeter over at top right. I see he's already got his barracks coming down. And that is going to be a 12 gas. We've been seeing some 11 gas these days. I would say it's kind of like, maybe not exactly 50-50 between 11 and 12 gas, but it's pretty close. A lot of players are going for the 11 gas because it gives you the faster factory. You can definitely punish 12 Nexuses with it, but your econ's a little bit worse. Now, interesting opening from Best so far. This is going to be multiple Zealots before the Dragoon. 16 gas is what it looked like in comparison to generally something along the lines of an 11 gas. And Jeter with that 12 gas. Rack's done. He's going to have his factory coming down pretty soon. Because Best scouted so quickly, he's going to see this opener. He'll be happy to know that this is, not gasless. If this was gasless and he was cross-spawn, I don't think he would be too happy about it. Cybernetics coming down. And it should be, I'm guessing, maybe 2 Zealots instead of 3. And as Cruiser's pointing out, optimizing that gas mining. Only had 2 on there for a little bit of time. Now he has 3. And the in-scout for Jeter is not going to pay off this time. He's going to find Best last. And on top of that, he doesn't even intercept the Zealot. Now, I heard a cancel of something, but I don't see any canceled buildings in Jeter's base. Maybe I'm just hearing things, but 3 Marines versus 1 Zealot, 1 probe. This isn't going to do anything. It's going to force out another Marine. Who cared that, though? It's not a big deal. And, okay, now he's going to find some damage. And the probe got off a shot also, but retreats to that depot. And this is just going to be, you know, a little bit of damage on both sides. I guess it did force out an additional depot, which you don't really want to do as Terran, but not a big deal, really. And we're going to be going into a normal mid-game here. Jeter's going to come in here and see with the Nexus. That's about maybe a little bit past halfway done, but not anything crazy. And I wonder what the follow-up is going to be. I haven't really seen, you know, as many 2-fact follow-ups as I did in the past, meaning like in the past year. More often than not, I'm seeing a lot of, I guess, 1-fact play like this, or Armory. Starport, at least in my experience watching games, maybe it's just coincidence. I've seen more Starport plays these days. And this really does look like it's going to be an FD, which is kind of an interesting follow-up, especially since it's cross-spawn. You know, what is that, an additional like 5 or 6 seconds or something? I mean, that's considerable. That's, you know, like a third of a Zealot or something, right? Or, you know, a fifth of a Dragoon. Now, a fifth of a Dragoon, you know, how often is that going to come into play? Not very often, but I mean, that is a long travel distance, and Marines are extremely slow. But he's going to try and make something happen here. 2 Vultures, 6 Marines. I've seen players like Light make moves like this, but generally, I think the spawns are closer. I think this is going to be really hard to make work, especially now since you're seeing 3 Dragoons, which will 2-shot the Vultures, and of course 2-shot the Marines. Also, the Zealot probably regened all his shields, even though Marines and Vultures going to do basically full damage to him. I feel like it will buy some time. We'll see. Let's see if Jeter can make anything happen here. I think that this is not really going to do much. Okay, mine gets laid. Zealot gets immediately blown up. And he's going to try and push this back. So far, the control from Best is really good. 4th Dragoon is really going to shut this down. This is going to do absolutely nothing. And the timing, you know, maybe I could have seen it working on a, either if it was top left or bottom right, but getting the 4th Dragoon out in time, this was easily held. And behind this, there's the observatory. Just going to have an observer coming out pretty soon to clear this. And with so many Vultures being shown, you can see that Best had a pylon wall around his base, or pylon ring, I mean, because he wants to make sure that there's no drops coming. Whenever you open with this many Vultures, you got to consider that Terran might have a starport behind this. But actually, this time around, there is no starport. In fact, it was a 2-fact follow-up, plus an eBay, I think. Right now, the defense for Jeter is extremely skimpy. If this had been like a 3-gate observer counter, maybe it could have ended the game. But Best, instead, not going to commit that hard to the units. He's going to go into a faster Nexus. And Jeter's got some work to do to try and catch up. Sneaky move right now. I think now that he knows that the Observer's out on the map, he's trying to avoid it, because right now it's most likely that the Observer was used to clear mines, to get a Nexus down, and more than likely Protoss is just powering at this point, and he's right. So if he can get this army around to the left side, maybe he can get a cancel here, and that would be fantastic for him. He needs some type of damage to get back into this game. He's down 5 to 7 workers. Reaver coming in for Best pretty soon. He's got speed coming in. And you can see that Best has a decent amount of Dragoons in his main trying to defend for drops that are not coming. And this base, I could see it actually falling. Now, admittedly, there's not that many tanks here, but Vultures do full damage to shields. They can actually rack up a lot of damage there, and Best is scrambling all of his units out of his main towards the mid-left base. Try and prevent this from falling, and he does get there in time. And look at this, at the same time, Jeter trying to run into the natural, but it does not happen. Really good defense from Best here, however, does buy him some time to get onto the high ground. And Dragoons, they have taken a lot of damage already. I think he's going to lose one tank, but he could definitely deal with the rest of these Dragoons. Ooh, big mine hit. I think he damaged his own tank. Oh, maybe not. Another Dragoon falls. Dragoons are taking a lot of damage. Behind this, I can see Jeter's floating a decent amount of money, but so is Best. And I also see a big block just went down in his main. So factories are coming in for Jeter, but oh, siege mode, that wasn't really that much damage. He does shut down the base for a little bit of time, and you can see he's caught up a little bit in workers. You know, it was 5 to 7, now it's just 4. So he's done a good job in that sense, and he is buying time for these, or he is preventing mining time of these probes just now being transferred over there. But he did lose 3 tanks, and that's a lot of tanks to lose at this stage in the game. You can see he only has 2. He's got turrets coming up, but the shuttles across the map, man, it's already in his base. Is there a turret in the main? It looks like there is not. And this could do devastating amounts of damage. This is the jackpot for Best. Oh my gosh, that was definitely a jackpot scarab shot right there. He gets, what was that, 7 SCVs so far? And even the tank pops out and gets splashed. Almost dies. That one almost dies. It's within one shot. He wants it. He wants those tanks badly. Another tank is going to take... No. Kind of deads out right there. But this was really good damage from Best. Completely lost mining time from Jeter. And he loses SCVs. I don't think the Goliaths can win this. Okay. I guess... Whoa, they do win this. Okay, but that was a lot of damage. And Best, now, instead of being up 5 workers, he's up 15. He is floating a lot of money. But as long as he can start ramping up that gateway count, I don't think he's really under any threat. I think at this point, Jeter kind of has to all in with this 5-fact. I can't imagine him expanding and trying to play this out. I feel like the eco is just way too massive for Best, and you know, in other games where Best does cut workers, you know, maybe there would be a chance, but he didn't really cut. 62 probes, I mean, that's pretty much perfect for 3 or 4 base. His econ is absurd. So I think you gotta just try and make this happen, and that's exactly what Jeter's going for. 5 tanks, 2 Goliaths, 2 Vultures. He's got a decent tank count. Like, 5 is definitely no joke, but he needs to rally a lot of Vultures, and he needs to rally them really quickly. Now that shuttle, it is a brand new shuttle with full health Reaver. So this is going to be a tough one to take down. Luckily for him, it is retro where there is buildable terrain. He can build turrets and stuff, but... Oh! Thought that was going to be a bigger mine hit than it actually was. Only takes down 1 Dragoon. And now, hello, caught a few Dragoons and he wants to take them down. And he'll get maybe 2 or 3. Yeah, okay, he actually got like 5. Those are some big wins. Now, if he can get all the way to this choke point right here, he could actually be in a really good position because Terran really obliterates armies once they get into that particular choke point, and that's exactly what he's doing. Is Best really in trouble? His gateways are now complete. Like, it looks like he has something like 9 gates, but within 30 supply is Jeter. There's a chance that he could push. It's actually 10 gate. Okay, that's a lot of production. As long as Best, I think, just waits and waits and waits, gets out 1 more cycle, maybe 2 cycles, this game should be his for the taking. Because Jeter, he's all in with this. He needs to kill this 3rd base at minimum to get back into this game. It looks like actually he may potentially expand to mid-right instead of completely all in. Pylon's falling. Looks like this 3rd base is definitely potentially under threat. I think best option is actually to just get to the center of the map, cut off reinforcements, and then hit him with a full, you know, 360 surround here, coming through the 3rd base, coming through the backside and the right side. That's exactly what he's trying to do. The Reaver, I think, can hold the line for now. Ooh, big scarab shots, takes down 3 tanks, and that's exactly what Best needed. Double Reaver, it's so hard to push into. Best is doing a really good job to clear out the mine. Supplies are massively in favor of Best now. He's up basically 50 supply. He's still got the Double Reaver. The tank count is extremely high, but no more reinforcements for Jeter. That's it for you, man. This is all you got. You're going to have to try and bust the third with this. And Best is positioning even more units to come in for the full 360. And here he comes. This is most likely going to be the game-ending move. Jeter has to destroy this army. He doesn't have that many vultures is the problem. I think he's got a lot of tanks, but the vultures, oh, they got hit by a mine. All of them are going to die. All the goons died, and all that's left over is actually zealots. But unfortunately, the supply gap is just too huge. It's still a 50 supply lead. Maybe if Jeter had 15 supply more, he could have held that and still had critical mass left over. Best is gonna, I guess, lose all of his zealots technically. No, he's not. More zealots coming through the backside, and this was a really clutch hold from Best. Didn't even use his Reavers during that engagement, and still cleans it up. There's the first Reaver, goodbye tank and vulture, and Jeter behind this is expanding, but there's no way he's going to be able to hold this. It's 5 fact versus 10 or 11 gate. It's pure gateway, man. Best is, you know, off of 2 cycles will be basically max. And yeah, these Reavers are going to say, no sir, this is not allowed. That command center is going to get blown up. And this was the perfect response from Best. He did exactly what he needed to do. This base gets canceled. And if Jeter wasn't all in before, well, he is now. And I guess if he's not going to put down a 6th and 7th fact, maybe he tries to expand again. You can see he's got a starport coming, but we're 14 minutes, 30 seconds into the game. At this point, he just needs a lot of stuff. Like, I don't know how the starport's going to help him. He's going to be able to go into +2, of course, but by the time the science facility is done, you know, his main's going to be mined out. Natural getting close to mined out. It looks like he did end up building a command center in his natural, so he'll be floating that over, but I have a feeling we're not going to get to that point because Best is 1 cycle away from being maxed. Best is someone that when he's maxed, he immediately attacks. So I'm expecting this game to be finished in the next minute or so. If it doesn't finish, Best has backup plan. He's got double expand coming in. That'll put him on 5 bases. Just so much yellow at his rally point right now. Big probe transfer down the bottom middle. He's going to get that 4th base up and running. And 5th base up and running. And probably just a few seconds. And here we go. We're at 180 supply. 1 more round. And it's going to be go time. Now, I didn't see Storm in any of these army comps, but I don't think he needs it. I think the Reaver plus Mass Goon plus Mass Zealot should be enough. I only saw 1 shuttle, but I don't think that's going to really matter. I don't think he needs to, you know, necessarily Zealot bomb to get the Zealots into the Terran army. And here we go. This is just a massive army, and on top of it, the Vultures at the top side are out of position. I'm actually surprised Best doesn't just go for it right now, knowing that the Vultures are out of position, but instead he does back off. It looks like he's going to try and intercept them at the top side. Jeter trying to get some presence onto the map with his tanks and Goliaths, but there's just way too much stuff. Looks like there's a drop-off of the Reaver at mid-right to make sure that this base does not ever get taken. Ooh, maybe Storm in here? Storm? Okay, how many SCVs? He had 48. Make that 41. 9 SCVs going down there. That was some really good damage. And Jeter is almost getting legitimately doubled in supply. Another big pick-off right there, getting 5 more SCVs. So unfortunately, this was not Jeter's game. I think his initial Vulture Marine attack, it was a good idea, but cross-spawn is just too hard to make work. I did like his follow-up tank attacks at mid-left. Those were really good, but just wasn't able to get the damage that he was looking for. And now this is going to be his last stand. He knows the writing's on the wall. There's no way he's going to be able to try and transition this. I mean, Protoss is on 6 bases. That is crazy. And there's a good storm from the backside. Another good storm. He's going to get a couple of tanks right there. And this was just a, pretty tiny army in comparison to Protoss. And this is going to get easily run over. There's your GG. And it looks like Goku got the best of Vegeta here. And, that's just how it goes sometimes. You go for a timing, ends up not working, and then, you're kind of all in. The all in didn't work. You try and transition, and, well, you can't at that point. So, well done from Best. He is going to be in the winner's side of the bracket now. And now we're going to be going into our second game of the day, which is going to be Yoon versus Ample. As I stated previously, I haven't seen Yoon in a long time. I was trying to remember what pro team he was on. I can't remember exactly, but either way, he is a very good Zerg. I feel like what I remember seeing from him is he's quite aggressive. Could be wrong though. But Ample, he's also an aggressive Terran. I think within the past year or two, he's kind of toned it down. But when I first saw some of Ample's play, especially his Terran versus Zerg, the first few games I saw of him was him stemming across the map with Marine Medic, trying to bust sunken lines. I think that's kind of not going to really happen these days, but, he is someone that does go for it, so Yoon's going to have to be on the defense, or at least be aware that it could be coming. So right now we are just waiting for Cruiser to get the game up and running. And it looks like he is ready. So let's get into game 2. It will be retro once again, this time between Ample and Yoon. So in the top left we do have our green Terran. It is Ample. And in the top right we do have our orange Zerg. It is Yoon. And right from the get-go, two things I'm noticing. First off, horizontal spawns. And Yoon is going to get the first scout. So this is close position. Rush distances are pretty damn close. So potential for Marine Medic bust is quite high. Second thing I'm noticing, that team tag, JSA tag for both sides. You got to imagine, with them being on the same team and also being pro-level players, that they've probably played versus each other quite a bit. Now, for those of you that have been watching the StarCast TV channel for a while, I always talk about the Ample wall. Well, on this particular position, you can go for a full wall. And that's probably why we see the 8 racks here, so he can float it back and get the full wall off. It's kind of an interesting wall when you see it. I'm sure it's coming. But when you see it, you think to yourself, like, those Marines must pop out on the bottom side of the barracks. But they don't. I first saw it being pulled out by Royal, and I couldn't believe my eyes. I was like, holy smokes, this is one of the craziest walls I've ever seen. And yet, that's exactly where the depot goes. So this is going to be the full wall off with an 8 racks opener. There's going to be a lot of pressure onto Yoon. Luckily for him, he will get to see the 8 racks right from the get-go, so he's going to know that it is coming. However, he did go for a 12 hatch this time. Not going to be an 11 hatch. More faster spawning pool. And this is going to be to the benefit of Ample here. He should be able to get some damage done. And Ample sees, or not Ample, Yoon sees the depot and now knows that, hey, this has got to be an 8 racks. Okay, actually, maybe he doesn't know that's an 8 racks. Maybe he just checked the depot and backed off, because he went for an immediate pool and immediate gas. Yeah, he has no idea that the racks is missing. So a lot of Zergs, when they know that it's an 8 racks, they skip the gas, because if you get the gas and you let it run, you just don't have you have no minerals, right? And you need minerals to stop this. Now, if you do stop the 8 racks easily and you've got your gas going, of course you're in an amazing position, because your lair wasn't delayed. None of your tech was delayed. It's just the dream opener. But this is the problem, is look at that. He's lost a drone building the gas. He mined some of the gas, so that's lost minerals. And now he's pulling off, like, what is it, 7 workers here? And this is going to be tough to hold. Luckily for him, he did already kill an SCV, which is great. But there's a second one here. And now this is 3 Marines. A lot of DPS here. Almost gets a drone immediately. And this is what we've been seeing from a lot of... Oh my gosh, first drone already dead. Can he pick off that SCV? The answer is not yet. He gets it really low. But there's no Lings out just yet. He didn't have the money to immediately morph the Sunken. The Sunken could die. Lings are going to pop out, but it's only 2. Full drone surround. Okay, good surround with the drones at the bottom. Ling is going to die. Sunken. It completes. He gets into the... Okay, I don't know about that. That was a big loss there. Lost 3 Marines out of 4. If he can get that drone, maybe it's worth, and he gets it. Okay, I would say that that follow-up with the Marines getting into the bunker was so-so, but he definitely got a lot of damage overall. What was this, like 5, 6 drones? He's now down 7 workers. Having all that gas for Yoon isn't going to help him because he has to recover his gas now, or his mineral now, which is one of the downsides that I was talking about of getting that fast gas. Okay, it looks like he must have canceled either a Ling or a drone there to get his fast lair, but in response, Ample is rushing into very fast +1 eBay. I actually thought he was going to go really fast Academy, just knowing how Ample is. You know, put on immediate counter pressure once again. But it is going to be fast eBay with a somewhat fast Academy. It's only 1 Rax though. This is definitely prioritizing the upgrades. He's going to have very few units, but like I said, this wall, even though it looks like Marines are going to pop out on the bottom, look at that, it pops out on the left side of the barracks and is behind the depot. It's a crazy wall. If you guys don't know about this wall and you're a Terran player, next time you play Retro, you need to pull out this wall and just laugh when Zerg all ends you, because they ain't going to kill anything. Well, Yoon, he's going to have to pull a rabbit out of a hat here because he is in really dire straits. He's done a good job to recover his worker count, 22 to 17. I actually think that's pretty damn decent for how the game unfolded. But his tech is lacking, his gas is really low. His Spire just now starts and he only has 150 gas available to him. I wonder if he's going to try and hide a base. Is he going to just build a 3rd hatch in his main? And there's the answer. He is going to be sending a drone somewhere. I think the best position is get the natural at bottom right. I think that's the safer play. You know, it's most likely going to be a scan at mid right and bottom right. Maybe Ample will miss it. Or maybe he scans the main and misses it, right? Well, looks like it is going to be the main at bottom right. That's going to be fine. A scan goes off, and we've got an interesting move out from Ample. It's 5 Marines, 1 medic. Now this is just designed to force out additional Lings and Sunken. He has to respect the 5 Marines just because the Sunken is so low health. And... okay, he only loses 1 Marine there. Not a big deal. Spire's going to finish in just a moment. And actually, Yoon has more gas than I thought he was going to have at this point. He's got 22 drones also. This was actually really good recovery. This is definitely a deficit for him, but if he has one good Mutatrade where he wipes the army, like let's say Ample gets a little greedy here and like moves out with just like 12 Marines and a couple of medics, and Yoon kills that army, this could definitely be a possible comeback for Yoon. However, with it being 5 racks production, that army is going to ramp up so quickly, it is imperative that Yoon does something to the army in the initial stages of the game, because once it gets to 2 or 3 groups, I don't think Yoon's going to have the eco in production to keep up with it. So he really needs to do something to that first army. First few mutas are out. It is just 4 or 5. Okay, there we go. 1 Marine gone. 2nd Marine gone. And the SCV count from Ample, okay, now it's starting to get pretty good. Up to 36. Really, you're looking for around 36 to 40, where you can just stop building SCVs and just solely rely on building nonstop out of your barracks. And turret's gonna die here. That's nice. But good turret setup overall. Well, actually, maybe not the greatest, because another turret falls. SCV gonna fall. More SCV's gonna fall. Ample's moved out. Now he wants bottom right, But like I was saying, this is a moment of opportunity for Yoon. This army is not that big. It is what, maybe 15 Marine medic? Something like that? The muta count also not that big. But this is definitely an army you can face. You can definitely kill this army if you're Yoon. If you let this survive, oh man, he's just gonna try and base trade. And unfortunately for him, this is not the build you want to base trade into it, because this is a 5 Rex. You're not overrunning this army. There's just way too much production. You can see the Marine count at the natural is still pretty decent. What is it, like 7 to 8 Marine medic here? And with 5 racks, and like he doesn't even commit to bottom right, because 1 Marine is killing the entire base down there. Ample is kind of indecisive here with his units. Now he's kind of split off half of his Marines towards the natural. But still, he's able to defend his natural and main, and these mutas are not going to get the damage that they were looking for. Is he going to stem? There's no way Ample's attacking into 4 Thunkins. Yeah, he's going to back off. But what can Yoon do with these mutas? The mutas are, a lot of them are pretty hurt here. What is it? Yeah, 3 or 4 of them are hurt. This base does end up dying at bottom right. Ample still has an army outside of the natural. But SCVs have been ransacked. It's down to 28. I really wish Yoon had to kill that army. I think he could have definitely made something happen here. But, you know, also, he wouldn't have been able to deal the damage to the worker line like he's done here. You know, he's gotten like almost 10 workers. So I could be wrong. But he comes in towards the barracks this time. Does some damage, but I think the turret Marine medic combo is just too strong. Drone count is really low now. It's just at 19. He can only mass muta into this now. Definitely can't transition into lurkers. Definitely can't go into Queen's Nest and Hive. And now Yoon's going to try and deal with this army in the center of the map, but the army's... I still think he can kill it. But I don't know. He'll eventually kill this, but this isn't the real threat anymore. The real threat is the army in the main. He's got like 2 groups by now. This Bioball does trade actually surprisingly well. How many mutas did he get? Looks like he got like 3 mutas there, maybe a couple more than that. And Ample, he is in the driver's seat right now. His Marine medic ball is massive. One thing I did notice is that I don't remember seeing a factory in his base. Of course, as I say that, there it is. Factory's not only started, it's done. And the starports are on the way. We've got Queen's Nest coming in. He is going to try and go into Hive. His drone count now has recovered up to 26. 3rd base, not up and running, at least not just yet. Doesn't have any drones over there, so still down pretty considerably versus Ample. Once again, moving out kind of with a tiny army. This was another opportunity that he needed to take, try and kill as many Marines as possible, but not able to do so. And that's a lot of medics. That's a lot of healing power too. So Ample has done a really good job to balance his Marine count and medic count, and this looks like it's going to be an unstoppable army at this point. I don't think you can kill this amount of Marine medic with just mutas, but he is forcing out a lot of sims, so that is really good. Good scan there by Ample. Doesn't find the base at mid-right. I think 1-1 should be done at this point for Terran. Now, +1 armor, in my opinion, versus mutas, not really that great, because you're still going to be getting you're still going to be getting killed by the same amount of muta volleys either way. But it will help with the splash, of course. And if there is a Ling muta combo, of course the Lings are going to do way less damage than usual. Damn, every time Yoon comes in here for a Marine snipe, he loses a Mutalisk. Ample has been really on top of his focus firing. And maybe I was wrong. Maybe that's the reason that Yoon didn't want to fight those Marines in the middle of the map, because he knew Ample is just so deadly sniping those mutas that he's just going to lose his whole army. And this is the problem when you're facing 5 racks, is the army is so huge. There's now 2 massive armies, one at the top, one going towards the 3rd base. But he actually did get lurkers up in time, and he will be able to hold this, I think. Maybe not. Ooh, that lurker was not in position, and that lurker is going to die. Mutas try to come back and hold the line, but that lurker's out of position. And there's just way too much stuff. This has got to be the end. Ample, he will take this game. It was a really good defense, though, from Yoon, or recovery from Yoon, I mean. You know, he took a lot of damage to the 8 racks. There was a wall behind it. He couldn't really do anything. He did good damage to the SCV line, but unfortunately, that just one Marine at bottom right did so much damage. Ample ended up splitting up his army that was out on the map. I think only 6 Marines were actually sent to bottom right, and he took out a base. So that's a little unfortunate for Yoon there, but overall, I think he's got a good chance if we have a rematch between these two, just because of how well he recovered. So we're going to be going into our next matchup, which will now be our winner's match. It will be Ample versus Best, and our first map is going to be Dark Origin, so let's get into that. Okay, in the top left we do have our yellow Terran. We got Ample. And in the bottom right we do have our red Protoss. It is Best. And now with ASL over, you know, we are just fully committed to the next season of the StarCast TV Star League. If you guys do like the content that we are producing, definitely consider becoming a Patreon supporter or making a donation through YouTube or becoming a YouTube subscriber. You know, all the support really does matter. It goes towards creating more and more content. This tournament, you know, is quite expensive, so we do appreciate the support so that we can get StarCast TV Star League Season 3 up and running. We also have other tournaments coming up also. There's an international, well, there's an invite tournament, and it includes some international players, so you should definitely be on the lookout for that in the next couple months. We'll probably be doing that after this season completes. And this is Dark Origin here, 2-player map, and we had Best going for a Pylon Scout. And this is going to be a forward gate as a follow-up also. And my own experience on this map, I think I hate this build the most. I have the hardest time dealing with this compared to anything else. And the reason is this probe's in your base. You have to like take an 11 gas or 10 gas or something. And you also have to scout and pull SCVs like this. Like there's 2 SCVs trying to just save this one SCV. And behind this, you know, the gateway is across the map, but it's still forward. The zealot pressure comes pretty quickly. And in response, Best could go for like a Nexus if he wants. He could go for cybernetics. You know, your econ is just really ruined with this opener because of all the harassment the Zealot and Probe can do. An immediate depot from Ample coming down because he doesn't know if this is a gateway, you know, at his natural. So he builds it immediately. Even though he's mining gas, he's not going to have the money to put down a factory as soon as he gets 100 gas. So this was really good damage from Best so far. He's really messed up the build order of Ample quite considerably. There's the Zealot that I was talking about. Now, also from my own experience, this generally is at least 2 Zealots. I've had games where they send like 5 at me, but generally it's like 2 to 3. So this is not just going to be 1. This does look like it's basically the same opener as it was on Retro, kind of, where it was Zealot pressure, but now that he sees that it's, you know, not cross spawn because, you know, it's a 2-player map, it should be a second Zealot popping out pretty soon. And the Zealot almost gets a kill onto that Marine. And that, you know, maybe wouldn't have ended the game, but it would have done a lot of damage. Ample would have had to pull SCVs. He would have had to build additional Marines, like more than just 4 or maybe 5 that I think he's going to build. That was a really clutch hold there from Ample to save that Marine. And I think the SCV did get into the main and see that it was this opener, but I can see that it's already been pushed out and is being chased by a probe, if I'm reading that correctly. Goon is out, and I don't think 4 Marines beat this. I think if Best commits to that, yep, there he goes. He's like, dude, what? That's 4 Marines, that's it? Get me in here. and he just gives that Marine a love tap to let him know who's the boss. And that SCV is going to die. And now with a Goon here, actually, Terran might need to just run. He's going to focus down the Zealot. That was really good. I think the Goon can maybe win versus this army. Okay, it looks like he's not going to win, but it was very close. But you can see that that army was very, very fearsome, even though it was very tiny from Best. And Ample, he did have a good hold. His command center is going to be pretty similar to the Nexus timing. And it looks like we are going to get into a somewhat normal mid-game. Now, what's the response going to be from Best? You got to imagine that it's going to be a robotics. But Best is someone that does go for some interesting moves sometimes. You know, when I've seen him play Ladder, of course Ladder is not a pro game, but I'm just giving an example. I have seen him pull out Disruption Web. I've seen him go for, you know, DT drop, you know, stuff like that. So it doesn't have to always be a robo, but this time around, even though we haven't gotten a click onto the buildings in the base, I'm gonna bet money that this is robo follow-up, and we actually do have Ample going for a 2-fact follow-up. I don't know if this is really gonna work out too well, because he did keep his Dragoon alive. Whoa, is he gonna jump on that tank? That is very far forward, and he gets it. I can't believe he got it. First tank dies. He does lose a Goon though, but Goon for tank is obviously worth. And now, if Ample was trying to go for like a 3-tank push, all of a sudden he's gonna have to wait for a 4th tank, and that's a big difference. It gives Protoss a lot of time to build more units, of course, maybe potentially have a Reaver out. And on top of it, Protoss saw that Terran was building Marines. Protoss should know that a push is coming. So this is going to be really hard to make work. Now, to be fair, even though the Rax has been blinking, I don't remember seeing a Marine pop out, but I did just notice it on the minimap. So, you know, just because it is blinking doesn't mean it actually completes. You know, I don't see Terran players really ever do that, but you can mind game some players by canceling the Marine. However, here comes the push, and that Dragoon took a lot of damage, and that was a full health Dragoon. So maybe this can actually get something done here. It is 2 tanks. There are a couple of Marines. Not that many Vultures, but oh, he gets a Dragoon. And is he gonna actually be able to bust this? There's not that many units for Protoss. Yeah, he's in full-on panic mode. He has the pylon wall just to not die. I don't think there's siege just yet, but there's no way he can engage this army. In fact, he could just range the gateway with just his tanks. Best, I think he went Observer first, so this gate is going to be 100% dead. There's no chance of Reaver. Oh, I was wondering if siege was close. Oh, actually there is a shuttle already. I guess he knew that the push was coming, so he wanted a shuttle, but I don't think that there's a Reaver in there. I think it may be just double Goon. But this is kind of a interesting situation with all those mines set up in the front. One misplaced, not necessarily misplaced, but one good, well-placed drop could wipe out, you know, a ton of Vultures or both of those tanks in an instant. But this does buy Ample some time to, you know, get his factory count up, get his turrets up in position for the incoming Reaver drop. It's also prevented the 3rd base for a really long time. Ambush should be feeling really good about the damage that he's done. He just has to defend this Reaver. But the Reaver is in the main, and the turrets are not done. However, the tank is within range of the mineral line. And actually, there are turrets in position. I didn't realize that. Oh, the Scarab! Oh, it duds out! The shuttle actually died, by the way. However, that Goon is going to kill the tank by himself. Luckily, the SCVs end up getting away the majority of them. He loses 3. But look at the work count, 34 to 37. This is pretty decent for Terran right now. Still needs to deal with that Reaver, though. The Reaver is so strong, even if he's isolated. Oh my gosh, don't send the SCVs back! Don't send the SCVs back! Okay. He kills the Reaver, but he loses 3 more workers there. And Best has had enough of this contain. He needs to clean this up. Those are some big siege shots. Oh, the goons hit a massive mine, and he loses like 6 goons to just one tank in a mine. Wow, Ample's playing out of his mind right now, getting critical damage onto the natural. This single tank is still alive, still dishing out damage. The goon, another goon may end up dying here. Really good focus fire there to not only kill the goon, but also get maximum damage onto the back dragoon. And Ample, man, he's got to be feeling really good about his position. He's got even workers. He's limited the third base, right? There's no third for Protoss. Protoss really, yes, it did get a lot of damage with his Reaver, of course, but he's also killed a lot of Dragoons. Like, the damage has been immense. The Reaver unloads, but that shuttle might actually die again. Oh my gosh, it does die. And now, I wish we knew what those buildings were for Best behind his natural, because there's 2 big ones back there. It looks like it's Support Bay and Observatory, but maybe it's like Citadel, Templar Archives. However, Ample feels like he did enough damage. He's going to make a move here, but it was like a 6-gate follow-up. And actually, he's probably... I was going to say he's probably going to lose his whole army, but there were less goons than I thought. And these 4 tanks, they're on the move, man. Look at the Vultures body blocking the Dragoons, trying to cut them off, trying to get some more Dragoon kills. Not able to get those 2, but he has done so much damage to the Dragoon count. And now, he can just sit across these bridges. It is going to be hard to push across, especially with just 2 factories. But I can see in his main, he's ramping it up to 6, if I'm counting that correctly. So he's going for a full-on killing move with the 6-fact follow-up. He knows he's done crippling damage. He knows that this Protoss is on the ropes. But the goon count is quite considerable for Best. Despite taking so many losses, he's up to what looks like 10 Dragoons. Plus, remember, he has the Shuttle and Reaver. Or at least he has the ability to build a Shuttle and Reaver. I don't know if he actually has that out just yet. Supplies are slightly in favor of Protoss right now, but I think Terran's going to close the gap pretty soon. Now, something minor there to just point out. The Vulture shot the first Dragoon initially, then the Batgoon, because it does more damage like that, killing all the shields. So that was a really nice move from Ample there. Really nice move right here from Best to clear out the SCV, get some mines, and get a tank shot. But 77 supply to 88. This is definitely in Ample's ballpark of getting a win here. Oh, another shuttle bomb takes out another tank. He's just relentless here, making sure that that turret never gets up. Now, I like what Best is doing is he's swooping around, preventing reinforcements. He knows that this is a bridge. You can only send so many units across the bridge at once. And this was the perfect move here. There's also no mine set up. And this is exactly what Best needs to do. He wants to get a full 360 surround on this tank army. And it is very isolated. What is it? 4 tanks, 1 Marine? Something like that? I think now's the time to go. This is completely isolated. There's no bunker either, and that's exactly what he's going to do. And Ample, he overstayed his welcome. This army is going to get blown up. I think all Ample can really do now is just focus fire the Dragoons, try and get as many kills as he possibly can. Now, I saw a shuttle out on the map somewhere. It looks like he just unloaded behind the Dragoons to try and prevent reinforcements with the Reaver. But not too sure exactly about that. However, what I am sure of is Best has now gotten himself back into the game. He's even in workers. He's got his third base up and running. He's getting the pylon wall set up, but not in the nick of time. Vultures run in here and will rack up a couple of probe kills. Looks like he's going to get about 6. That was really nice. But Protoss still up 20 supply. His tech, kind of lacking though. Whereas Terran doesn't necessarily need to go into Starport, right? They can still go for 1-1 and, just non-stop factories and still have a really solid army. But Protoss really needs to get into the high-tech stuff, whether it's Templars or Arbiters or Carriers. But Ample, after having his 6-fact timing not pan out, seems like he is going to accept that he can no longer make a timing work and will try to expand. That's exactly what he's done. His cruiser showing here, he's got +1 weapon done. He ends up going into Starport as a follow-up and has Science Facility coming. And I am noticing that it actually was never a 6 fact, it was actually a 5 fact. But either way, it was still a lot of pushing power. But in the end, good hold from Best. And these Reavers, just so annoying. Gonna delay this third base slightly longer. And I think Best at this point could consider taking a fourth base. He's got good map presence right now. He's delaying this third base, doing really good damage, really annoying. And there we go, fourth Nexus going up at the mid right. Now in his main, I don't see any, crazy buildings going up. Like I don't see triple Stargate or something at the top of his base. We did get a glimpse and see that there is Templar Archive. That means that Storm is definitely on the menu. Did not see a Stargate at all, so I don't think it's going to be Arbiters. And this looks like it's going to be the same type of composition that we saw in the retro game. Now Reaver, okay, I thought it was going into the main, but does not actually commit. And once again, we're about maybe 3 or 4 cycles away from Protoss being maxed. But unlike Retro, this map is way harder to push across. So I think most likely what Protoss is going to do is, even after they max, just mass expand everywhere, and then probably shadow the movement of the Terran and just blanket with storms. That's kind of the thing to do on Dark Origin. You can see that this particular hallway right here on the left side, it's very tight. If you land storms right next to each other horizontally, it covers the entire pathway. You can get tons and tons of tank kills with double storm. So I think that's most likely the move from Best here. Just camp it out. Make sure Terran never gets a fourth base while you're also taking every base on the map. And Ample, in response to not being able to attack right now, he's going to go for a drop. Not sure exactly what's loaded up in there, but I'm going to actually take a guess that this could be either 1 tank, 2 vultures, or 2 tanks. Try and shell from the high ground. No, instead, he just unloads on the fourth base. But good immediate pull of the probes, and we'll only lose 1 so far. Ooh, big mine hit. Big mine hit. Saves the tank for now. But then, oh, he actually did manage to save it. But does he really save it? Because how are you going to get away from this? Oh, look at this. He knows it's dead, so he just unloads and goes for as many kills as possible. Gets the second probe kill, but not going to get anything else. But that was a cute move. And it does alleviate some pressure across the bridges, but it's still really hard to get across on Dark Origin. You can see supplies are really close, 140 to 152. SCV to probe count, also very close, 49 to 53. This is kind of the probe count that I expect from players like Best. Really massive army, not big econ, and he kind of just tries to overwhelm you with either 1 or 2 big timings. Now we've got another storm drop, this time at the natural, and that's like where all the SCVs are. Oh my god, he hit so many workers. That was like 18 workers in an instant getting blown up. And you gotta imagine that this must trigger something in response from Ample. He just can't take an 18 worker loss like that and not do something about it. But what can he do? He's down 40 supply. He's got a massive army, but it's just so hard to get across the bridges. Also, those Reavers are still on the left side, just waiting for Terran to make a move. Like, come up here, bro. I got something for you. Well, Protoss is maxed now. He's like, 4 units from being maxed. He's got a lot of gateways. There is a lot of factories, but I think at this point, I think Protoss is just playing the starvation game. Look at the mineral line at the natural. Getting pretty low. Main's mined out. That's completely gone. Terran's going to be on 1 base mining in 2 minutes or so? And because of Protoss's low worker count, actually he's going to be on 4 base mining because his natural is still going to be up and running. 3rd and 4th base, obviously, and 5th base are all fresh. And it all comes down to how effectively Ample can actually get across these bridges. But look at how long it's just taking him to position tanks. I mean, he has 1 million tanks. There's no doubt about that. But Protoss' army is huge, man. He also has so much storm. He has 5 shuttles. 5 of them. Just crazy. He's also got double forge. I don't know what his upgrades are exactly, but I'm gonna imagine at least 2-1. And 2-1 is pretty freaking good, especially since Terran's only at 1-1. Terran, I'm guessing, is waiting for the +2 weapon power spike. But yeah, this is all Protoss needs to do is just, oh, you stepped across the bridge? Okay, well, you're gonna lose some stuff. Maybe he can make something happen with, like, you know, chain D-matrices? That could be a great move. I could see that being catastrophic for Protoss. You know, you commit and then you run into a double D-matrix and then you're caught with your pants down. You know, you can't really back off because you've committed so hard, but you can't really commit because the D-matrix is going to soak up so much hits, and this is it. Here we go. There's only one Goliath here. There's one D-matrix, but the Storm and the army is just way too big. But you can see that Ample did have a decent trade there, but he lost everything that was across the bridges, so it's going to take him some more time to get across. Did force out a lot of storms. Didn't lose that many tanks. I mean, that tank count is huge. It is massive. And there aren't that many Goliaths. I think best... Yep, there we go. Shuttle bomb there. You're gone. Almost gets the second tank. But actually, Ample has a really fearsome army. Okay, he's going to try and unload, or try and push out again. Storms are going to blanket the Goliath at the top side. Oh, really good EMP. Hits a lot of the Templars. But... it's still just so hard to get across the bridges. He had a really good trade there. He's down 30 supply now instead of, what was it, 50? But Protoss isn't even using his Reavers on the left side of the map. Also, that's not even the entirety of Protoss' army. And every time he moves across, he's losing like 4 to 5 tanks. Now, maybe he can get across a considerable amount of tanks. But here comes, what is it, round 3? Another EMP immediately as the Templars unload. Really good job from Ample to get those EMPs off. It's not easy to do, but he's just losing so many tanks every time he comes across. And what was it? Maybe, I'd guess 20 tanks a moment ago? Looks like he's sub 10. 10 ain't gonna cut it at 20 minutes into the game. And Protoss once again is gonna hold the bridges, and Ample, seeing that he can't get across the bridges, is going to go to the left side, but hey, he's going to be greeted with the Reavers. Those Reavers are still over there, man. He ends up taking down at least one of them. And it looks like he will actually get this 4th base. Now, despite those big wins for Best, his supply only at 160. If Terran can get this up and running, and with it being high ground, maybe he's not out of it, but it's going to be really, really tough. I do like how Best has taken every base on the map, though. That's exactly what he needed to do. And we've got mass shuttle bomb on top of the tanks once again. Goliaths were slightly out of position. Look how many clump tanks there are. Double storm goes off. Need another storm here. Get one juicy storm on top of those SCVs and tanks, and that's exactly what I was talking about. Archon leading the charge, ends up getting taken down, but lost so many tanks in that engagement, and this is most likely the attack that breaks the Camel's back. I don't think you can recover from a position like this, down double the supply, 78 to 153. Ample, he's not going to give up just yet, but he has lost the critical mass that you really need as Terran to make, you know, attacks work or defensive moves work. Mass Shuttle Man coming in once again. Is it going to be enough to clean up this army? There's a clutch D-Matrix. The Zealots don't have that much support. Looks like there's not enough energy for Storm, maybe? The Goons, I think, are going to kill that command center. Okay, well, that's it. GG comes out from Ample. I think he did the best he could do. That Storm drop at the natural was just crippling. And as every Terran knows, it's very hard to get across the bridges. Best did exactly what you should do on this map, which is just never let Terran get a foothold over the center. Limit the amount of bases that they can take, and meanwhile, you take every base that you can. That was really well done from Best. Let's get into Game 2 now. And Game 2, it is going to be on Apocalypse here, so a 3-player map. And let's see if Best can close it out. Alright, in the top middle, we do have our Terran. It is Ample. And in the bottom left, up 1-0, one game away, it is Best. And these Terran players have been getting really close with making their timings work, but Best's macro is just a little bit too good. I think he did a really fantastic job defending that push from Ample. Like, those two tanks did so much damage. So much damage. I thought at that point, especially after clearing up the Reaver drop, that was Ample's game to take. But overcommitted with those 4 tanks outside of the bridges, lost them, you know, kind of conceded map control at that point, and Protoss just exploded afterwards. So we'll see if he'll go for a timing once again. Apocalypse is another map where you can make timings work. Also, drops are really, really strong here. But I think the go-to move on Apocalypse is definitely play for 3 or 4 bases. If you can get onto high ground, you can secure a 4th base really easily. You've got big econ. Terran only needs really 4 bases to win the majority of the games. And if you do want to go for a harassment type of play, drops are really good. Like, the main is completely wide open, so Vulture Harassment is extremely strong on this map. So that's what I think Ample should opt into. We do have a Rax in kind of a forward position. In fact, I thought he was going to go for a 14cc, but not going to be the case. Instead, it does seem like it's going to be Gasless Expand from him. Ample realizing that maybe it's a little bit too hard to go toe-to-toe in macro versus Best if you open with a gas opener. He wants to get a little bit better mid-game eco for himself. And this time around, Best is going to go into normal play. It's going to immediately be a Cybernetics. No Zealot queued up, at least not just yet. And it doesn't look like we're going to have a Zealot queued up. Zealot can be very strong in Apocalypse because there is no ramp. But players in general, whether there's a ramp or not, have gotten so good with their SimCity and Micro Marines that unless you're going to 2-gate, you know, there's not really a difference between a ramp and a rampless map at the pro level. So there's the command center. And one thing I'm not noticing, or one thing I am noticing, is the lack of Probe Scout from Protoss. He is not going to be happy to see that this guy's getting away with the Gasless Expand once he does eventually scout, but Terran is going to be happy to see that, hey, I didn't intercept a Zealot. I don't see anything crazy going on. There's no 12 Nexus. And in fact, even though he didn't spot a Zealot, and, you know, he didn't have intel with a first scout, Ample skipped his bunker for a really long time. But it's going to be the perfect timing for this incoming goon. His factory is going to be coming up in just a second. In response, Nexus going down for Best. He still doesn't know that this is a gasless opener, though. And if he did, you know, he may have put down a second gate to really ramp up the damage onto the bunker. May have rushed the robotics. We'll see how he responds. He still hasn't scouted. He finds Ample last, so everything has been going really well for Ample. Ample has also kept the SCV alive at the bottom right side of the map. Now, Terrans do proxy starports a decent amount of time. I wonder if he will use that to proxy starport, or if he'll just keep it alive and go for another scout, like try and scout the 3rd base timing. With the 2nd factory coming down, the proxy starport, that's kind of gone down the drain. But he still can use this SCV to get some more intel, and in fact, oh, I thought he was going to avoid the goon, but he does not. We'll at least confirm that there's no immediate 3rd Nexus, so I guess that's okay. But doesn't really get to see much else. But you can see the power of this fast command center. He's already up 5 workers. That is crazy. And speaking of crazy, you know, in game 1, I was talking about how Best does do some wild builds. This is going to be a DT drop. And versus this particular build from Ample, with it being a 2-fact, a lot of Terran players do skip detection for a long time. This could be an immediately game-winning move from Best, especially seeing that it's an Academy follow-up. If he scans 2 times and doesn't have any energy, I don't know how you're stopping the DT drop. I do like that Best is showing, hey, I've gotten range, I've gotten 3 goons, 4 goons, because when you see 3 or 4 goons like this, you're never expecting it to be a DT drop. That just never crosses Terran's mind, just because it's so hard to afford DTs plus drop plus goons plus range. So this is a really good mind game from Best here. As Cruiser is pointing out that archive, it is now done. That means DTs will be on the way. Now, I did notice in Ample's main, there was an eBay also coming up. Now, that tank is extremely far forward, and he's going to retreat it. However, loses it, and the goons are running into the main. They're just trying to make the game wild. Oh my gosh. He took a ton of damage on his goons. I actually like the idea to try and run into the main because you know your Hail Mary is the DT drop. You know that if you can run goons in, even if they're super low, Terran's going to be full-on panicking about the goons, and they're going to forget about the turrets. So even though that didn't work there, and even though he lost 2 goons, I think the idea, really, really good. Now, the ComSat is coming in. You can see there's still no turret just yet, but with the ComSat being set up, there's the first scan. Now, I'm not sure exactly what he scanned, but turret needs to come up right now because the drop is on the way. It is here. And there should be 2 DTs. And I don't think I see a turret in the main. Could be wrong though. But either way, that DT, he's about to be unloaded, man. And we're going to get into a crazy predicament. Oh, I hear turret shots did go off. So actually there is a turret. Okay, but there's no turret right there. But with the ComSat being done, he'll at least be able to limit the amount of damage. And I think he has a scan available. Oh, can he get that goon? Oh, he does not get that DT. But he does manage to save the depot. But behind this... Okay, I don't think he has another scan. I think he's already used... Oh, he does have a scan. Okay. So he does use up all of his scans, but he does end up saving all of his buildings. He does force out, additional turrets, but that's not a big loss. Behind this, though, Best does have his 3rd base coming up. In his main, it is not Fast Arbor. I think those are additional gateways. He's going to have a lot of production, and the Vultures are out in time for a probe transfer. But I don't think he knows that the base is up and running just yet. Best is not transfer. Oh, there's a gap! And we're in there. 2 Vultures into the main. Actually, there is a Stargate. I didn't realize that was a Stargate. I thought they were all gateways. Goons pop out. I guess in the nick of time, it will limit the amount of damage. But this was good damage for Ample here. He racks up at least 5-6 probes here. Lots of damage. He even still has some units over on the 3rd base area, but not willing to commit. I think those are tanks and Marines. And because if you commit, those are 100% going to die. I think it is smart to just back off. He probably wouldn't get that many probes in response. But once again, Ample, I think, is in a really good spot. He also scouts that this is going to be an Arbiter timing. He knows that he's done a lot of damage to the probe line, so it's going to be hard for Protoss to go tech plus 3rd base plus have a good army. So I think he could actually hit a timing here. And that's exactly why you see him going into at least 5 fact. I think it is 5 fact once again. Maybe it's 6. But either way, this is going to be a lot of units coming out from Ample. DT trying to be pesky here. Vultures waiting in the shadows to make their move. He sees the goons out of position, and there he goes. He's going into the 3rd base, but Tank is going to trade its life for that DT. Those Vultures, are they going to get in? Looks like there are some Dragoons in position, though. Trying to run into the natural, and he does find an opening. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, 3 Vultures for 6 probes. That's a good trade. You'll take that any day of the week. He had also used up all of his mines, so it wasn't like, he didn't get them down, didn't get value out of them. He still has them over on the right side of the map. But Terran, despite having the 5 factories, it does look like he's actually going to expand. It is hard to make a 5-fact work into Arbiters because the Arbiters can just stall with, you know, their Cloak of Invisibility. But I think out of all the games where you did have an opportunity to make a timing attack work, especially off of a gasless opener, this was the time. Ample did do a lot of damage with his Vulture Plate, but like I said, it is still hard to make timings work, so I don't fault him for taking a third base. He's still obviously in this game. He's up workers, he's up supply, which is obviously fantastic for him. Anytime Terran's up supply, Terran's pretty much in the driver's seat. One thing I do have a question about is what's the upgrades looking like for Terran? I did notice the armory's upgrading at his natural, so I'm sure that's +1. But I don't see a big building in his main that looks like a starport. I'm going to guess that +2 may be, you know, a bit farther away than in a normal type of game. But, you know, that meta these days to skip the upgrades for a while and instead prioritize units. But Ample's starting to get into a position that I was talking about before the game started, where he's getting his third base. He's starting to secure the high ground. And if he can secure the high ground, the fourth base is really close. You know, at mid-left, you can overlook the fourth base while defending your third base. It's a really good position for Terran to be in. Also, top right, you know, it's not exactly the closest base, but hard for Protoss to attack into. These Vultures now, they definitely did not get worthwhile damage. Just disrupted some mining time, didn't really get any probe kills, but not the hugest of deals. Vultures, you know, they can be replenished pretty easily. As long as you're not losing tanks as Terran, it's probably okay. Now, yeah, I was just about to say this. Best should have his Arbiter out by now, and in fact, we do see it. It is out. And I wonder if he will try and bust. I think he's taken too much damage to try and make a bust work. Now, look at this. Vultures find another opening. This time around, the probes are completely open. Oh, big mine hit. Not going to happen. He still gets a lot of probes, though. What was it? Probably like 6 or 7 probes. And this was half the Vultures. The other Vultures are trying to find their way into the natural. Ooh, can he get any mine connections? The answer is no. Like the idea. Oh, he actually does get into the natural. Okay. Killing 2 bases at the same time. Ample doing work here. Really showcasing his multitask. That Vulture harassment at the bottom right still hasn't been cleaned up. And just now, Protoss transferring those workers. So he lost maybe like an additional 8 or so workers. Really, really good damage. At the same time, Best is taking mid-right. But this is getting worrisome for Protoss. It looks like the probes got intercepted again. This guy's a madman. He's going full-on fantasy here. Vulture terrorist, killing all the probes over and over and over. And, man, Ample crushing it this game. He hasn't lost any tanks basically the entire game. His tank count should be crazy, just like it was on Dark Origin. This really looks like a great position for him. I think he should consider taking another command center, but other than that, he's crushing it. I did notice he did have Starport with Science Facility in his main. Should have should have Science Vessel coming out pretty soon. And look at all the defense he's got. At the third base, it's very fortified. The main had multiple turrets, lots of tanks there. Goliath's also in position for recall. Doesn't really look like Best has any angle to attack. Doesn't have any angle for recall. But he's going to try and come in here. Observer just spot, I guess, technically a small opening right here. I cannot believe he's committing to this. This was such a tiny position. He didn't actually get in with the Observer to see what was actually behind that Goliath. There is only one tank. But this SimCity, how do you engage onto the tank? It's hard to get in there. Only one goon actually being able to do damage to it ends up taking down the tank eventually. But this was a massive win for Ample. Kills off a big chunk of the Protoss army. Didn't lose that much. Loses mostly Vultures. And critically, you know, is probably going to be able to replenish those mines over there. Oh my god, that is so many tanks. That is so many tanks. Now Best is acting like he wants to go for another recall, but he's got about 20 more seconds before he's going to have energy for that. You know, chained recalls can be hard to deal with because a lot of times Terrans do forget to put down their mines once more. But it looks like Ample... I see he's got vultures there, but I'm worried he forgot to lay mines. There's a vessel in position. There's the 4th command center, so that's great for him. And that tank count is in. This is what I was worried about. The vessel... Oh, he gets off the EMP, but it's not before the recall actually goes off. And now this attack should deal damage. And critically, that armory, I can see it now, man, very exposed. If he focuses it down, that could be a +2 power spike down the drain. Ample scrambling to get into position here to try and deal with these Dragoons. All that's left are Dragoons, really. But this was a really annoying recall. It has alleviated so much pressure for Best. He's now getting to his 5th base, you know, up and running. He's transferred a lot of workers over there. He's getting gateways built over there. And at the same time, unbeknownst to him, he's also delayed that 4th base of Ample. So Ample, man, despite the great opener, taking a lot of damage to these 2 recalls. However, like I said, the tank count is crazy. Absolutely bonkers. He needs to make something happen with it, though. Yeah, that is a lot of tanks. And once again, Anvil's going to need to reset up all those mines and turrets. But Best is exploding. He's now up to 6 bases. I would say he's got like maybe 12 gates, 15 gates, something like that. It's definitely manageable for Terran, who's sitting on, I think, 8 factories. No, not a 3rd recall. Don't tell me. Not a 3rd one. And once again, I can see a big block in the main of Ample that has no defense. That bottom side of the base has no mine set up. Oh, and he's gonna find the sweet spot again. Does the EMP get off? The answer is no. Okay, luckily for Ample there, those Zealots did take a lot of damage, but once again, it's only 1 tank defending. This 4th base does have a transfer of units over there. Ample is still matching the supply of Best, but it just feels like Best is slowly picking away at this advantage that Ample had. Ample does have his 4th base up and running, but this non-stop recall is just such a nuisance. Now, the real army is moving over towards the left side, and I think that this base is going to get blown up. There's mostly Zealots here. I don't see Dragoons just yet, but the Cloak is going to be so hard to deal with. Templars also in this army, and there's a lot of tanks. There's a good storm. Another good storm. A couple of tanks end up falling. No support for these tanks. Man, if you can get off some more juicy storms, that would be like almost 8 tanks falling for just Zealots. Really good damage there. And supplies have plummeted for both sides. It's 135 to 117. But the Arbiters are just picking him apart. The storms are crazy. Look at how hurt those tanks are. One more storm would kill another 3 or 4 tanks. I think if Best just sends his whole army to mid-left, he may be able to kill it. But I think he's setting up for another recall into the main. You know, Ample, even though he's dealt with the recalls, you know, decently in terms of killing the units, I don't remember the Arbiter ever dying. So the Arbiter's just, you know, chilling over there. And now he's going to come in for round 4. And this is, once again, right when Terran moved out of position. Big mine hit, but he's just getting picked apart. Now, what was almost even supply is 170 to 120. And meanwhile, Protoss, with all his bases up and running, you know, he's still technically mining on 6 bases. I can see that he's got mineral patches in his main and natural. And this is heartbreaking for Terran, because Terran was just in such a fantastic position with his gasless opener, up in workers, up in, you know, army. He was up, what, 110 to 105 earlier? But these Arbiters, they're just ruthless. A direct drop on top of these tanks. Now that was actually some big losses for Protoss right there. But also Terran loses a bunch of tanks. And now with reinforcements coming in through the bottom side, well, that's kind of a pitiful army. I don't think that's going to be enough to take down the 4th base. But I think at this point, Best has done what he needed to do. He's whittled down that tank count, which was probably around like 20 to 25, to now maybe 10? Something along those lines. He's still got all of his Arbiters alive. except for that one that just died. Look at the upgrades. Protoss also has 3-2. I didn't even realize that. The Arbiter, or not the Arbiter, the Armory I noticed has been taken down also. Not sure if that was for +3 weapon, but +3 weapon could have potentially been denied. And I think at this point, all Best has to do is get one consolidated army and just push to win onto this 4th base. Terran would be basically mining just his 3rd base, 1 base mining versus legitimately 5 base Protoss. You cannot win from that position, and here we go. I gotta imagine this is most likely the game-ending move. There's, you know, only 7, 8 tanks. There are no vultures, and this is just a menace of an army, and that's it. GG comes out, Ample, he will fall there. This was a great game from Best. The Arbiters did crippling amounts of damage, just picked Terran apart. I think Ample played really well there. If he had a little bit better defense versus the recall, he definitely could have taken that game, because he was approaching the point in the game where he's getting an unkillable army, you know, sitting at 24, 30 tanks with +2, with EMPs, and he's got 4 bases. So it's a little unfortunate that he fell there. I think that was his best opportunity, but it is what it is. Best will be moving on. So we've got our first player out of Group G. We're now going to be going into our losers match, which is going to be it's going to be Jeter versus Yoon. So TVZ, and once again it will be on Dark Origin. Alrighty, in the top left, our blue Terran, it is Jeter. And in the bottom right, our purple Zerg, it is Yoon. And we saw him, you know, almost make a recovery versus Ample's 8 racks in the retro game. I don't think we're going to see an 8 racks here. This is not the greatest spawn for it. If it was bottom right with Terran, then I think the chances of that happening is pretty high. But because it is top left, I think the chances of it is pretty low. So I think Yoon should open with his 12 hatch this time. But as I say that, there goes that SCV. This could be a tricky 8 racks here. But you could also just go for the wall. And okay, actually it is going to be an 8 racks. And in fact, this is going to be, oh, it's not going to be an 8 racks. It's going to be an eBay block. Debo ended up going up in the main. You know, for a second, I thought that this was going to be, you know, an 8 racks proxied in the center. And whenever that happens, a lot of times Terran players go into 1-1-1. Now that Overlord, it was actually turned around for the SCV, but he actually missed it just barely, literally by like a second. And now the eBay block comes in, and I can tell you, Yoon is not happy about this. He's going to have to go into something like a 12 pool. Yep, there it is. Now, I've seen some games of Light where Light does an eBay block like this. And literally, as soon as he does the eBay block and sees drones be pulled down, he just says, good. And good means game over, basically, in Korean. So, I guess if this was Light, you would consider that this game being over. But I don't know if I agree with that. I feel like Zerg can definitely play out of this. 12 pool with fast gas, I think it's actually kind of a strong build. You know, they can rush their lair so quickly that Spire all of a sudden is, even though it's on 1 base or, you know, low econ 2 base, mutas are ridiculous. And it's not like Terran didn't commit to this, like didn't commit anything to this. Like rushing an eBay like that SCV that early, like that's a lot of lost mining time. So we'll see how this game plays out. I guess if you're Light here, you're probably thinking that you're at an advantage. But I think this is not as big of a advantage as one would think. Command Center is going to be coming down, and right now Cheater doesn't have that much defense. But because it's only 2 lanes, he will be able to get away with Command Center off of, you know, no bunker, no SimCity at all, just rallied 1 racks. But that lair, should be really far along for Yoon. He's going to have an insane Spire timing. Also, if Yoon is a tricky player, stuff like Lurkers off of a 12 pool can be really strong, especially on a map like Dark Origin where you have that back building that you can just immediately kill off. I think it is imperative that Jeter rushes into an academy to figure out what this is. Since there is no Hydrogen put down just yet, I don't think that this is going to be a Lurker play. I think this is just going to be a normal Muta play. But he did have the opportunity to go for that. And Jeter is going to send out another SCV to try and confirm the tech. Since there is only one Ling out, I think he'll be able to get in here and get some intel. Hopefully Yoon leaves a drone on the ramp to make sure that he doesn't get in. Because if you go for 12 pool and Terran gets to see what your tech is, I mean, you're just playing from a deficit, right? Like that's just how it is. Terran really needs to be, cautious versus a 12 pool opener on what the tech is. Now we've got Jeter moving out with 4 Marines, and he sent out an SCV on the left side, snuck it out, and I'm not sure if the Zerg actually saw that. So maybe he will actually get in here with this additional SCV and confirm the tech. Now we know that that is a Spire because I can see it in the main, but Jeter is playing with fire right here. There's only 5 Marines, there's no bunker, speed is already done. If this was a Ling Flood, Jeter's dead. So he actually got very lucky that this was not a Ling Flood because he didn't really confirm anything other than there only being 5 Lings, at least from what he saw. Third hatch going down for Yoon at the mid-right base. Pretty common base to take. You can also take the corner, but Jeter scouted there, and he sees that it's not there. And Mutas should be on the way at this point. Yoon is, well, I guess now that I'm looking at the gas, maybe they're not on the way just yet. And now he is starting to spend some of the gas. I saw him spend 100 gas on something. Maybe that was just for +1 weapon. But either way, Mutas should be out momentarily. Does confirm that third base positioning. He knows that Hatch is not in the main anymore. And he's going to be looking to get some damage done with these Marines and Medics. But because of how fast the Spire is, and because of how slow the Academy is, or was, I mean, I think Jeter needs to be a little bit careful because I don't think he's going to have range for upwards of 1 more minute. And that means that these Mutas are going to be very, very strong. Now, he does see that there was only 3, so he knows that Yoon powered quite a bit. He knows that the eco is pretty good. So maybe he can move out with just like 8 Marines or 10 Marines, but I think the smart move is to do exactly what he's doing here, which is just back off. You really need to have range versus Mutalisk. I can't tell you how many games I move out and my whole army gets obliterated. I'm like, dude, what happened? I had, X amount of Marines. I had definitely critical mass. And the reason everything got blown up is I forgot range upgrade. Just forgot to click it. So smart move to move back. And now what are the options for Jeter? Well, he can go into more racks if he wants. But I think the move here is to get his factory up and running. Right now he's really prioritizing just getting his turrets up. And right now I think actually Yoon's in a good spot. Terran's SCV line, or SCV count I mean, is not that big. It's at 30. Really you're looking for around like 36 is the optimal amount that you want. So for him to already be at 28, as long as Yoon doesn't take crippling damage here, I think he's in a really good position. Now, he has lost vision of the Marines, and that allows the Marines to get across the bridge. No, they don't. They actually back off. Okay. That was really good for Yoon there. Definitely want to keep back the Marines as long as possible. Ends up losing another Mutalisk, just like he did in the Ample game, where Ample was just focus firing those Mutas over and over and over and over. Once again, loses 1. And another stem forced out. Okay, this is just going to be a counter. Alright, Marines have gotten across the bridges. This is the hardest part of this matchup on this map. Gets across, intercepts the Mutas, and does a decent amount of damage. Takes down 1. Couple of Marines and Firebats have branched off, and they're going to be stemming into this third base. He missed them. And, oh no, Yoon. He's going to lose his drone line again here. Oh no, he's not. Okay, he is. Stem coming in, and that means that these drones get mowed down Then he's going to try and save the day here, but not before losing 4 drones here. Really big win. However, he didn't send back all of his Mutalisks, so that does keep the Marines in check on the bridges. Okay, really good. Takes down 5 Marines there. He needs to kill this army, man. You just got rid of 5 Marines. Get it. Get rid of that army. It's tiny. This is your moment. Okay, he loses 1 Muta, but look at how many Marines are left. There's only 7. Get them. He knows there's only a few left. He's definitely going to jump on this. There goes 3 of them. Only 5 left. Man, these Marines are so lucky. They picked off 2 additional Mutas there, but he finally cleans up the army. That's exactly what Yoon was looking for. Now, in Jeter's main, is the factory done? Okay, it is done, and he's got his starports. One of them done, second one coming up. This is going to be SK Terran with vessels. Barracks count still kind of low, sitting at just 3. Would like to see more barracks coming in for Jeter, but maybe because of all the SCV losses, couldn't really afford it. But I did notice Yoon had his Hydrogen set up at his 3rd base. He's not all in with just Mutalisk here. We could definitely have, you know, a Lurker contain. Definitely Lurkers, you know, defensively set up at the natural on the 3rd base. But because of the low racks count and because the army got wiped, I am worried that Terran may get contained by something like 7 Lurkers. You know, he's floating his factory. I think this is so risky with such a small Marine count that if this guy does end up going mass Lurkers, how are you getting out? You definitely got to have a tank or something to push them back. And the way these Hydras are positioned, how they're on the bridges, and instead of, you know, being defensively morphed at the Nat and 3rd base, this really does look like this is just going to be a contain that Terran could potentially never get out of. The Mutas, they are sharking around for more kills. Not able to find any, but he doesn't really need to get more kills. He just needs to keep the Terran back. And this is actually going to be the contain that I was talking about. Jeter, he doesn't know, but he's got to get out right now. Otherwise, he's dead. There's the first Valkyrie. But Lurkers are already here. Hello. And unfortunately, you are about 15 seconds too late, Jeter. And now what are you going to do? There are 6 Lurkers here. The Valkyrie is not going to help you here. You don't have any detection for the Lurkers. Okay. There's also no +1 armor by the... Oh my god. The entire army is dead before the battle even starts. And this has got to be game over. There is no army here. He could jump on this bunker if he wants. Okay, he doesn't want to just wait for vessels. He wants to end the game. The bunker is pretty good, but it ain't that good. It gets blown up immediately. The Valkyrie is doing a lot of damage, but there is no army on the ground anymore. And this is gotta be the GG. Damn, that Valkyrie did so much damage. It went from 11 mutas down to 4. But there's just no army. There's no Marines. There's no way you can deal with the Lurkers. Natural has been breached. Not only is he on top of the natural, he's on top of the ramp now. And that means that game 1 is going to go over towards Yoon here. This was really well done. He recovered very nicely from the get-go. And like I was saying in the beginning, even though Light may think that, you know, the game just ends with an eBay block, I'm not so sure about that, as you can see as Yoon wins that one. So well done from him. And that means that we've actually got a point on the board for Team Zerg. So let's get into game 2 now. Jeter going to be on the back foot. And what is the map going to be for game 2? It should be Apocalypse once again. And that's exactly the case, so let's get into it. Alrighty, once again, in the top middle, we do have our Terran. And this time in the bottom left, we do have our Zerg. And I think Jeter did pretty much what he should have done, you know, in terms of overall strategy. The Marine Medic was great. Getting across the bridges was exactly what he needed to do, but overcommitted there. You know, once you're down to just one group of Marine Medic and, you know, the muta count is, I would say, above 7, you need to be very careful, because when you're playing a tech-based build like that, if you lose your army, you can see what Zerg can do, right? Like, they can just build a lot of lurkers, you get contained, and the game's over. Like, just because Zerg players have historically used lurkers defensively and go into Defiler, doesn't mean that they can't just use them offensively like that, which is why I was talking about how I think he needed to ramp up his Rax count a little bit more quickly so that he could prevent that from happening. But now with him having a game like that happen, I'm sure he'll be more aware of that in game 2. And Yoon this time, even though it's a 3-player map, ends up going into what was an 11 pool, I think. I think he built the drones before that pool started. So an interesting opener from Yoon here. And I guess he was expecting it to be potentially another 8 racks, but we see that it's not the case this time. Cheater opening with a normal racks in the main, normal scout pattern also. We'll see the Overlord, and we'll know exactly where Zerg is. So he will find him first. And in Jeter's, or not Jeter, in Yoon's main, I think that's fast gas for him. I think he went for an immediate gas here. And this is the type of build that I personally have trouble with. Like I was saying, mutas come out really fast, as you saw in game 1. But if you can prevent the scouting, you can also go for the lurkers. And maybe this time around, after he's shown mutas in game 1, maybe this time he will actually mix it up and go lurkers if he can get the SCV gone. And Terran, seeing this, what's the response going to be? Well, he sees that there's one drone. And, well, with there being only one drone now, or one set of lings I mean, now Terran can go into command center, doesn't need to build a bunker, doesn't need, to build a second racks or anything, at least not just yet. So I'm curious how Yoon will transition this, because I think if you overpool or 12 pool and you don't build 6 lings, you're just letting Terran get away with a really greedy opener. I wonder how he'll punish Terran for having a lack of SimCity, most likely. But he did push the SCV back, which is the most dangerous part of this build. Now Terran's in the dark, and I'm trying to keep an eye on Zerg's main. Will he build a Hydra Den so far? There's no Hydra Den just yet. So far, I don't see a lot of lings being produced. I think he did get... I think he did use another 100 gas on speed, though. So this could be a ling flood. This definitely could be a ling flood. His gas count looks lower than I was expecting, but I could be wrong. So far, no more lings. Fire has just now started. I can see that coming down. So maybe it is not a ling flood. I would have to rewatch the replay, but it looks like speed was never upgraded. Maybe I'm just crazy here. And we are going to get a normal game. This is going to be the same opener as last game from Jeter. Well, not exactly the same opener. I think the Academy is slightly faster than last game, but that's you can probably chalk that up to the eBay block in the beginning, kind of crippling his opener for a decent amount of time. But overall, in general, the idea is the same. 2 racks Academy. Gonna have eBay coming in pretty soon. Rushing a Comsat here, you gotta do it, because like I said, you really have to know what Zerg is going for. And one thing I do remember from the first game is Jeter's worker count was quite low. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on that SCV count. If you can get up into the 36 number, which I think is the perfect number versus a 2-hatch play, he'll be having great econ going into the mid game. But right now, sitting at just 26, 7 Marines and 2 medics on the move. Once again, Yoon is going for a 3rd base with this 3rd hatch, and he realizes that he can't hold it, so he cancels it. Unbeknownst to Jeter, he's already done the damage here. This was really nice. But he's looking for more. He wants to get that natural. He wants to force some more Sunkens. No, he doesn't. Actually, he's turning around. Good call there. Lings have done no damage so far. And now, Zerg's just in a really bad position. His eco's really low because of the 12 pool or 11 pool. He's lost all of his vision with the Lings. And he doesn't have the 3rd hatch. whether it's in the main or the natural, he doesn't have it. So all that larva that would have been available, you know, a minute from now, that's just completely off the table. Yoon, he has to make something happen here. He's got to do a lot of damage to get back into this game. The worker counts for Terran relative to Zerg is fine. 31 to 19, that's great. You're in a good position at this point. I think the turrets are in good position also, so Jeter has everything he needs to take this to mid game and be in a favorable position. So far, only 2 racks. I think by now we had a 3rd racks on Dark Origin, but not totally sure about that. Either way, the mutas looks like they may have found an opening at the natural. SCVs, really hard to save on Apocalypse to natural harassment, but so far didn't lose any. 7 mutas is the number you want to one-shot these SCVs, and now he has it. So now's the time to come in here and start racking up some SCV kills. Looks like actually, instead of going to the natural, he's looking to get some kills on the top side, but instead, he just takes a lot of damage on his Mutalisk. He does, I guess, delay the factory a little bit, but not really getting a lot of damage so far with his Mutalisk. I do see Yoon has taken his 3rd base now. He's starting to recover his worker count up to 23. And he has a ton of Mutalisks, so he can definitely rack up a lot of damage. Turrets. Okay, he's got 3 there. Good SCV wipage right there. Gets rid of 2 more. Factory's probably about done by now, so Starport should be coming in pretty soon. Meanwhile, I think a big building went down for Yoon. Yeah, there we go. And I'm going to guess that that's the Hydra Den. I guess it could be Queen's Nest, but I'm just going to throw it out there that it's most likely Hydra Den. More SCVs falling at the natural. 1 more. Can he get another one? Okay, he gets 3, 4, maybe something along those lines. That was definitely good. Keeping Terran's econ in check. Continuously sitting around that 30 SCV count, which is, in my opinion, pretty bad for Terran. But definitely still has econ to support, you know, double starport and something like 3 barracks production. So definitely not out of it, but really good damage so far from Yoon. And Terran has built so many turrets at this point. That is 6 turrets at the natural. He's floating his factory over there to try and limit the, you know, the ability for the Marines to, or not the Marines, for the Mutalisks to get SCV kills. But so far, it's not really helping that much. He's gonna come in here for another round, pick off an SCV, pick off some more Marines. Wow, I killed a lot of Marines here, and they're stemmed up. They're heavily damaged. Really nice harassment from Yoon here. He's going to be going into the mid game in a really fantastic position. He has taken a lot of damage on his mutas, and he hasn't whittled down the Marine ball that heavily. So unlike game 1, I don't think this is going to be a mass lurker containment. I think this is going to just be him playing defensively, get into Hive, go into Defilers. And once again, Jeter, feeling the pressure of these Mutalisks, has gone into Valkyries. He's going to have a massive Marine Medic Valkyrie army, but will there be an opportunity to bust anywhere? I don't really think so. I think Lurkers will be in time. I think Hive will be in time. And overall, I'm really liking Yoon's position. Now, Jeter has recovered his eco really well, up to 41 SCVs. Now he can start really building up that racks count. I think he has 4 right now. Would love to see him go into at least 5, maybe 7. You know, really put some pressure onto this third. Once again, the Muta's finding an opening, gets a couple of Marines, but trades 1 Muta in the process. I think I also saw an Evolution Chamber in Zerg's main. That means that upgrades will also be on the way. And, okay, interesting move from Yoon. He's going to try and catch him with a hold position Lurker. He stems for it, but he sees it. If he could have burrowed that a little bit quicker. Ooh, the Valkyrie almost dies, but he has already lost 80% of its health. Wow, actually Yoon's pushing. I can't believe he's pushing instead of playing passively here. I guess he feels like the Terran army isn't that strong. Oh, almost gets the Valkyrie. Okay, there he goes. Goodbye. Wow, maybe Terran's army is not as big as I thought. We are at about the 10-minute mark in the game, where Terran sometimes does have +1 armor. But I think it's a little bit delayed because of his eBay timing. And with it being a 2-racked opener, more Marines fall. Wow. Is he really just going to end the game? That is a lot of lurkers, and there's nothing to contest it. The Marine Ball definitely cannot win this fight. This is also high ground. Overlord dies. Ooh, Valkyrie almost gets taken down. Really good patrol micro, by the way. Saves one of them. That's great. But look at the supply. It's 85 to 90. Yoon has really good eco also with the 41 drones. He's not all in with this. I would love to see some macro hatches. Okay, there's a little bit of a blunder. That's the moment that Jeter was looking for. Try and catch some of these lurkers out of position. He's also maybe going to catch this Valkyrie. Ooh, barely. Okay, he does get it. That was nice. And there's the macro hatches that I was talking about. Yoon building double macro hatch in his main. There's the Defiler mound. I'm sure Defilers are either out or close to being out. Yep, it is out, and that means Consume should be out or complete pretty soon. Jeter's out on the map, but there's really no place to attack at this point. I think he's going to just be obligated to patrol back and forth, look for some Irradiates, but because he went into quadruple Valkyrie, he doesn't have a single vessel out. That makes him vulnerable to just a Darkstorm push. Maybe he's actually just got to try and go for a Hail Mary here, try and kill the third base, but I heard Consume is done. There are 4 lurkers here. I don't think you can bust this. Maybe just be content with holding the high ground, expand behind it. I wonder if he'll try and go for mass drops. You know, to only have 2 vessels at 12:30 in the game is pretty rough. Like, you don't have Irradiates just racking up kill after kill after kill. If he uses an Irradiate on a lurker, he can't deal with Darkstorm. So, you know, maybe the move here is to just get desperate and try and go for a quadruple dropship into the main. But as I say that, I notice Yoon has defense already set up, whether those are Mutalisks or Lings or whatever they are. They're on the perimeter of his base. We've got an add-on coming in for Jeter, but I don't think it's going to be for tanks, actually. Well, I guess it could be for tanks now that I'm seeing Hydras with speed coming into play. And with the lack of vessels not being critical mass, I guess he's going to have some tanks. Originally, I thought maybe it would be, you know, for spider mines because they're cheap. But it does seem at this point like it's going to be tanks because of those Hydras. Now, Plague goes down, hits the vessel. Not able to actually get a kill onto the vessel, though. But does keep the Defiler at bay. Third base coming in for Terran. And he is going to try and play for a late game here. Damn, I guess I missed another Plague go off because it hit a lot of the army and hit the majority of the vessels. 3 of them are like at 1 health. So a single Muta could kill, you know, the majority of the vessels here. Those Marines are one-shotted. See ya. And Yoon, he's going to start exploding at this point with all of his macro hatches, with his Hydra Lurker comp, with the Defilers not being taken down. Terran is in big time trouble. This army was tiny. I don't really think it was going to do too much anyways, but it gets taken down. Terran does not have critical mass vultures or tanks, whatever he's building out of that factory. Definitely not critical mass of anything. Those medics have no energy. So the Marines can be potentially one-shotted. He needs to get rid of that Defiler, and he does. But will... Okay, I was going to say take a lot of damage on his vessels, but actually ends up saving all of them so far. You can see 4 of them are really, really hurt. Hydra's sharking for some vessel kills. They've got a taste for vessels, but not able to get any kills just yet. In Jeter's main, I think he's gone up into something like 7 barracks. I can't imagine it being a mech switch, but mech switch is very good versus Hydra Lurker in general because you need a lot of tanks to deal with it. Another vessel coming in, just takes a ton of damage. Was looking for a Defiler, is able to get the Irradiate off, but he eats a Plague in the process. And while all this is happening, units started to take a 4th base. There is a contingency army over on the right side looking to intercept units. But I think that's probably just going to get plagued and killed off. Yep, there's the Plague, and these Hydras are going to kill everything. And even though Terran is up in supply, you gotta feel like Yoon is completely in the driver's seat. I'm kind of just waiting for the vessel blob to get found and smoked by these Hydras. They still have not been repaired, by the way. They're still dangerous. Oh my gosh, big shot. Lurkers take down a lot of the Marines. They get a couple of the vessels. Tanks, well, I guess it's gonna keep Zerg from, continuing to push here. But if I was Zerg and I just had high ground, I would be feeling good about my position. Just continuously dark form this position, never let Terran outside of their base. That's fine. Another plague goes off, another Defiler is gonna die, and that army over on the right side actually does get to the 4th base. May be able to stem and knock that base down. But these vessels are so low. Would really hope to see a repair or something, and there goes one of the vessels, so that's not going to be repaired. That army at bottom right still alive. Doesn't look like it's actually going to get the hatchery. But Terran is contained at this point. Terran's going to try and take a 4th base, hiddenly at top right. But I don't see how he deals with this army. Like, it doesn't look that big. But Zerg's going to explode just so quickly pretty soon. Okay, here we go. Dark Swarm. Ooh, tank's doing a lot of damage. Where's the Defiler? Okay, there's the Dark Swarm. Oh man, he gets on top of all the tanks. All these tanks are gonna be gone. He gets on top of the back tank also, and now the 3rd base is completely open. We're 17 minutes into the game. Main's gonna be mined out. Natural's gonna be mined out. And I think this is gonna be a 2-0, man. This is also where all the factories are. That means no more tanks for you. And Yoon, this is looking like it's gonna be a 2-0. I think this is Jeter's last stand here. He's going to go for a counter. But hey, if you counter, well, guess what? The counter is already at your base, man. There it is. GG. Natural is about to get blown up. And that means Jeter is going to be eliminated. So, unfortunately, Jeter, I feel like he was just on the back foot. Basically, in both games, like he had map control in the Dark Origin game, but once he lost his first army, playing a heavy tech-based build, it's really hard to recover that and control, the center of the map so that you don't get contained. Likewise, this one, he took a lot of SCV losses. His Valkyrie push got stalled for so long. He never had map control there either. So unfortunately, Vegeta, he is going to be eliminated. But it does get Yoon into the next round where he will be warmed up now. He should be ready for a rematch versus Ample and should be feeling really good after his 2 wins. So let's get into the first game of him versus Ample here, starting off on Dark Origin. Alright, in the top left, we do have Yoon. And this time around, our Terran player, it is Ample at the bottom right. And he is going to have the good spawn. And I think, once again, we could have another 8 racks here. The full walling capability of bottom right is just so punishing. However, Yoon, showing that he's content with playing a 12 pool opener or an 11 pool opener, I think you should consider going for that once again here. It is a powerful build. Probably Ample doesn't know that it was whipped out versus Jeter. And there we go, Ample with the SCV being sent out. Will it be for an 8 racks? The answer is no. It is just going to be a normal wall this time. Smart move from Ample here. You always want to mix in just a normal opener here. Because if you get a normal opener versus like an overpool with a wall, oh, you're feeling lovely. You're just feeling great. But Yoon doesn't look like he's going to fall for the tricks. It does seem like we're going to have another 12 hatch this game, as I did not see the 11 pool or 12 pool come in, at least not just yet. Oh man, is Ample going to go command center first? Oh, ballsy play, command center first on Dark Origin, 2-player map. This is a map that you actually run into 4 pools quite often, because if you wall off like this, 4 pools can kill the depot before like your Marines are out in time. Also, the distance between the main to the natural is quite long. Like, it's not easy to get your SCVs into position over there. So to go Command Center first on this map is crazy. But this is the absolute dream opener. You cannot get a better opener than this. It's the absolute best. On top of it, he didn't even scout. Like, this is just Command Center first, Rax wall. He is going to have so much stuff. It is going to be absurd. Like, he can go 1 Rax eBay Academy and still have like a 2 Rax pressure play. Like, that's how crazy this build is. Now, Ample's going to complete this wall while also scouting at the same time. There was a curious scout over at mid left. Not sure what Yoon was looking for. Maybe it was Proxy Factory. Maybe that's a common move that Ample likes to pull out here. You know, like I was mentioning in the first series, both of these players repping the same team, so they may have a lot of history, and maybe Yoon was scouting for that potential Proxy Factory. There is the fast gas in the main as expected for Ample. This should be for +1 weapon, but if it is a mech play, it wouldn't surprise me. Mech is just so uncommon these days, like it's hard to like actually think that somebody's gonna go for it. But with there being no eBay, this does actually look like this could be mech. And I'm loving it if it's mech, because you rarely get to see this type of move. And that's exactly what it's going to be. It's going to be straight factory. And I guess it doesn't necessarily have to be mech play, like in terms of being Goliath. This could be a fast vessel rush. It could be Valkyrie. We've got the 3rd hatch in the main this time. The SCV stayed alive long enough to confirm that the hatch is in the main. Ample knows that there is no hatch on location anywhere. And I think this is a smart response from Yoon, because seeing the wall and, you know, probably being able to power really fast, Ample would have had a really deadly 2 Rax timing, so it's really smart to put that in your main this time. You definitely don't want to lose it. And this is a 3 fact. What? 3 fact on 1 base? This is definitely going to be for Goliath here. So even though this was a really fast command center, really fast gas, one of the dangers of playing delayed mech like this is if you lose control over your factories, like if you lose your turret, you're dead. Like, the problem with delayed mech is your Goliath count is so low compared to like a 12 gas opener that it's really easy to just have the game snowball in Zerg's favor. So it all comes down to Ample making sure that his turrets don't die and his first few Goliaths don't die. If he can get up into something like 6 Goliaths with range, then he's held. But if he loses like the first 2 Goliaths, he's in big time trouble. The armory is about to finish, so Goliaths are going to be on the way. He does have 3 factories, so he will have 3 Goliaths, which will be more than probably Zerg is expecting. Well, I mean, probably Zerg is already confused because he's seeing a Vulture at this point. But the point is that maybe with the 3rd factory, this could be enough to make sure that Zerg doesn't overwhelm him. Now, this was an amazing move. First off, he gets a denial on the natural. He forces off a sunken. And, you know, this was at a point where Zerg wanted to build Mutalisk. So this was a really smart timing here. What is a drone cycle? Okay, I guess after seeing that it was a Vulture, he goes for a drone because he doesn't know if this is Valkyrie. Oh, yeah, by the way, he built Scourge at his natural. I was going to say, he doesn't know if it's Valkyrie, Vessel, or Goliath. But you know what beats all of those? Big Econ. Big Econ is the way you play versus all of those openers. So he ends up going into Scourge. It's not a huge waste here to just lose 1 round of Scourge, but he will confirm that, hey, this guy ended up going into mech. And now he hasn't overcommitted into Mutalisk. You definitely don't want to play Mutas into Goliath, not when it's a 14 command center at least. You want to go into Hydras here, maybe get some Queens to drop some of the to try and Broodling some of the tanks. But yeah, mass Muta here definitely would not win. But as I say that, he's continuing to build more Mutas. I guess he technically doesn't know that it was a 14cc, but Ample's going to have so much stuff, man. Like, Mutas can be the counter. In fact, a lot of the games that I have lost have come to mass Mutas, but it's It's more when my econ is in check. When my econ is crazy like this, the Goliaths can just shred through everything when you have critical mass of them. So, hoping to see some Hydras mixed in, maybe some Lurkers even. Lurkers are surprisingly good versus mech also, because Terrans in general skip vessels and they skip comsats. But here we are, Terran's gonna be on the move. Now his +1 weapon or +1 armor shouldn't be done just yet, but maybe within the next minute or so it can complete. But there's only 10, 11 Goliaths. So 11 Goliaths versus 8 Mutas. It is hitting really fast. I don't think Zerg has built any Hydras just yet. Oh man, he's already across the bridges. Wow, this is actually a sick timing. Or is it? Hydras are here. That's a lot of Hydras. They don't have upgrades though, but the Mutas can buffer for them. They've got a lot of health. They take half damage to the Goliaths, and yeah, this is exactly why you want to have Hydras here mixed in, because they deal so much damage. And I think Terran just went a little bit too quickly. This army gets immediately killed, and this was not the move. Even though this was a 14 CC, this got immediately run over, and this is why you see mech play kind of not be a thing these days. Now, Yoon can't immediately counterattack and go for a victory, but that was a big win for him. He's got a macro hatch coming down at his third base, I can see that. It's going to be, you know, Zerg versus Protoss style, in the sense that this is most likely going to be either 5 or 6 hatch Hydra production with +1, facing off versus a Terran player who's only got 1 add-on, so it's going to be 1 tank at a time. Now, you don't need to have that many tanks, but something like 4 to 5 is a good number. In Terran's main, I noticed there's no starport. That means that this will be a 1-1 play. It is not going to be, you know, 2-1. But it is Dark Origin, so even without rushing +2 weapon, he could still just camp behind his bridges, play for late game, take his third base. Zerg doesn't know exactly what Terran's doing. I think he should consider running in here with some Mutalisks to try and figure out what's going on. Try and get a read on how many factories it is. Try and get a read on, does this guy have a starport? Is he building a command center? Because right now, he's in the dark, and he's probably just building mass Hydralisks. And Terran looks like he's going to be on the move. That is a lot of green stuff sitting across that bridge. And I'm going to guess that those are vultures on the right side of the map. One of the things you have to do when you do go mech is you do got to get vultures out and try and kill some drones, but they get immediately spotted by the Mutalisks. That means that these are going to get taken down relatively easily. They're going to get no damage done. And if they get no damage done, well, you know, that's a cycle of vultures that could have been Goliaths. He's built a ton of vultures, actually. Why? I guess they build faster, right? They deal decent damage, but, I mean, he can no longer attack with this army, especially if these get intercepted. If these get found, I think Ample's in big time trouble. You can see Yoon's starting to explode. His econ is sitting pretty at 43 workers. He's got 5 hatches. He's got his 6th hatch coming up at a 4th base at mid left. Terran's just now expanding. There's still no starport. It's still just 5 factories. And look at this, the Goliaths are out of position, so what better time than to hit that natural? He's going to get a turret, get a couple of SCs, 2, 3, 4, looks like 4 or 5, maybe even more because he went down to 42 SCVs. That's a lot of lost workers. That's a big win for Yoon here. Now, did Yoon overcommit? He's going to find the Gypsy spot in the back line of this mineral patch, knock down some more SCVs, and in the meantime, does confirm, or at least, I guess, doesn't see a starport, does confirm the 3rd command center, denies that. Yoon is playing so well in this game. This is masterclass. And this is off of a 14 CC opener from Ample. Like, it couldn't have gone worse for Yoon. Now, hopefully he doesn't overstep, because there are a lot of tanks here. There are not that many Mutalisks here. I think the Goliaths will win that battle, but he forces a cancel onto the command center. I can't believe that he forced a cancel there. I thought that Ample may have been able to win that. Now, I wonder if Ample, after losing that, will feel obligated to attack. I think his army is pretty freaking big, that he definitely needs to go for it, and he will get across the bridges. Okay, He's across. And he's got a good tank count. Okay, we've got a big engagement here. I think there's a little bit too much Terran here. Zerg needs to just spam as much stuff as possible. It doesn't matter whether it's Hydras or Mutas or whatever, but he needs to get the units out ASAP. He also needs to get that army that he has on the right side over to the middle of the map to help engage with this army. Oh man, Terran just has so many tanks. It looks like Terran's actually just going to push to victory here. I think Yoon's forgotten about his army on the right side. So Yoon's down 15 supply, but he's actually down something like 25. The Mutalisks are trying to like tank for the Hydralisks, but there's no way for the Hydras to get on top of these tanks, or really on top of the Goliaths either, because the tanks are so close to Goliaths, and now Goliaths, they're on top of this third base, and I think it looks like actually Ample's going to win here. And supplies are just really plummeting for Zerg. He's giving up this base, which has, you know, double macro hatch. That's 3 hatches to lose. Zerg's gonna counterattack the third base, may end up canceling the third base of Terran, but I don't think Zerg can beat this army. Like, the army is massive. Also, I don't think just trying to counter the natural is enough either. Like, there's enough tanks and vultures set up there that he should be able to hold. Wow, he doesn't even kill the base. Ample ends up saving his third base. Scan goes off, he knows that this mid-left base is isolated, and he's just going to move over here and take this down, and that's GG. Wow, that was really well played from both sides. I think that Yoon, maybe he powered too much. Like, if that fourth base went into more Hydralisks, I don't know though, because the tank count was so high. How could you really engage there? Like, it just looked impossible. So, well done from Ample. He makes the mech game work. Haven't seen that in a long time. And now we're going to be getting into potentially the final game of the day. Let's see if Ample can close it out. Okay, this time in the top middle, it is our Zerg. It's Yoon. And in the bottom right, we do have our Terran. It is Ample. This time around, or I guess once again, Yoon is going to get the first scout off. Lucky scout for him. And Ample's going to have one of the better positions for walling. Mid-right, you can go racks, depot on top, depot to the right. And you've got a pretty good setup there. So once again, we could have another 8 racks. I don't think we're going to have a command center first because there is a gap when you do wall on this map. But the wall is pretty good in general. And however, there goes that SCV. So is it going to be a depot? Is it going to be a racks? It is going to be the racks. Okay. Now once again, Yoon is going to see this immediately. Remember, we saw him open with an 11 pool on this map versus Jeter. Will he opt for it again? Doesn't look like it. Looks like it's going to be another 12 hatch this time. And Ample. Yep, there's the barracks. Everything looks pretty normal here. You can see the gap on the left side, but technically between the depot and the racks right there, not linked tight. But if you put another depot on top, then all of a sudden it's pretty fortified. It's pretty hard to get through there. So we've got the 12 hatch for Yoon. You know, with the mech play being pulled out on Dark Origin, I wonder if Yoon will try and go for, you know, something else this time. Will it be the 2-minute pool, 2-minute gas? The answer is yes. I was hoping maybe we could get a 3-hatch game, but not going to be the case. Now, if you notice, it was technically not a 2-minute pool, 2-minute hatch. It was 155 because that's the power of this top middle position. 5 seconds is, you know, not the biggest of deals, right? You wouldn't think, but hey, there's been a lot of games where turrets just barely build in time. Imagine if that turret gets canceled, game can snowball really quickly. So every second really does matter at the high levels. And the drone has done a good job to push the SCV out for a while, but eventually it does get in, and it gets in with full health. And Ample got away again with another greedy opener. I think this was off of 0 Marines, despite not scouting at all. I guess he didn't see any Lings coming, so he could, I guess, gauge that it wasn't pool first, but, you know, still kind of risky in general. There's the second Rax. And like I was saying, Ample does stim rush, or used to stim rush, a decent amount of the time. I could see it happening this game. He's rushed his second Rax so quickly. He's going to have so many Marines, and he knows that this was a really fast lair build. There's the 315 Academy, so this is definitely going to be an Academy rush. Will he commit to, like, busting is the question. You know, he could still just also rush his upgrades, but I think this could be one of the few times where he stems across the map and goes for it. You also know that this guy has been putting his third hatch on location a decent amount of the time, so there's also that, like, even if you stem across and don't kill the natural, you can still kill his third base. Now, like I was saying, there is a gap there, so you do have to be careful, but look at that stutter step micro. Ends up losing 2 Marines, but kills 4 Lings. But, you know, actually that's a big win for you, and he doesn't know it, but killing 2 Marines out of, you know, a stim rush in the early stages of the game, instead of there being 6 Marines or 8 Marines or whatever the number is going to be, you know, there's potentially only going to be 4 or 5, right? So that's a lot of firepower that has already been eliminated. Now, as I stated, Yoon has been building this hatchery on location, and it looks like he's going to do it once again. The Academy's done for Ample. He only has 3 Marines, or maybe 5 by now, so not a lot of firepower in his army, but it's definitely enough to get a cancel on this third base. Stim coming in. I wonder if he'll go with, like, 4 Marines, 1 medic, you know, 4 Marines, 1 fire bat, because his entire build is revolving around a lot of pressure. It looks like the answer is no. He's going to wait for a couple more units and then make his move. Right now, there's still no sunken colony for Yoon. 2 Lings holding the line, getting some intel, trying to gauge when the move out is coming, and here we go. And this is going to be 7 Marines, 2 medics, 8 Marines, 2 medics. Ooh, look at that control! Gets 1 Marine and gets into the main. But stem's already done. Scan goes off. What is he actually? Yep, there's the stem. He's going for it. He knows, like, he's got an opportunity here. The sunkens are not done. I'm going to hope that those are sunkens and not just creep colonies. Focusing down that sunken colony. The mutas are not done just yet either. There's no medic here, so the Marines are quite weak, and that was very close to being a dead natural. Now, think about that. If he hadn't have killed those 2 Marines in the beginning, this attack would have been about 15 seconds faster, and this game could have already been over. So it was really clutch that those Marines got taken down initially, and now, because he lost a couple of Marines to the Sunkens, this Marine count, it's under threat of dying. He luckily gets 1 Marine, or 1 Mutalisk there. He should have gotten none. But Ample, I'm not going to say he's in trouble, because he does have good econ. You can see he's got the worker count that I was talking about, at 30, sitting at 35. So he's got good econ. But he has no army, like absolutely none. He has 2 racks. He doesn't have his turrets up in time, actually. Maybe by the time the reinforcing mutas get here, they'll be up in time. But there's also no bunker at the natural. You know, if there's like a 3-hatch Ling flood plus mutas, that could be really hard to stop. I think that's a factory. So Ample's in response going to start rushing his factory, trying to get his tech up and running. 3rd rack coming in. Right now, he has no map pressure at all. Yoon has complete control over this game. He can, you know, either power up, he can all in, he can go mass muted, he can go lurkers. He's taken his 3rd gas at his natural. Ooh, doesn't want to commit onto those turrets. I think he was trying to see how many turrets there were. Once he saw that there were 3, you know, even though you killed the first Marine ball, there's still a decent amount, you know, hovering around in position. So you don't want to overcommit, but if there was only 1 or 2, I think he would have gone for it. Either way, I'm pretty sure that's a Hydroden at his natural, and I'm starting to get flashbacks to the Jeter game where the army was not that big, and then he got contained by lurkers. I have a feeling we may be setting up for another scenario. This time around, Ample's science facility and stuff is going to be a little bit faster, so that may not actually happen. But there is definitely potential that definitely could happen, and we could see another, you know, quick, you know, 11-minute, 10-minute game, something along those lines. Ooh, isolated Marines. Another handful of Marines end up falling. Supplies are very close, 61 to 57. Ample's SCV count is crazy, man, but he's sacking Marines to get, like, he's sacking production is what I mean, to get more econ. But unbeknownst to him, he needs to rack up his racks count really fast. He's got a decent bio ball right now. What's it, like, one group of Marine medics? But there's 11 mutas here, and he's just keeping Terran at bay the entire time. Heard double scan go off. Curious what he just saw. I'm not sure if he knows that there's a third base on location at mid left, but it's not just pure lurkers this time. It is Queen's Nest with it, so it is going to be Hive Tech. One turret falls, SCV falls, a couple more Marines fall. There is double starport blinking right now. I guess it doesn't necessarily mean that it's 4 vessels, I was going to say. It's actually, in fact, for Valkyrie. So he's going to try and get these Valkyries out, just like Jeter did. Get map presence with that so he doesn't get contained. Another turret's going to die. There's the first Valkyrie. Oh no, he may end up losing it. No, he doesn't. It barely survives. 3 hits away from being taken down. And now, maybe, Ampo can start controlling his high ground and preventing that lurker contain from happening. Valkyrie's doing work right now. I think they've taken down 2 overlords. Yep, there goes the second one, and that's a pretty big supply block. There's the lurkers I was talking about. Is Yun gonna commit? You know, last time I thought he may go for hold position here. Look at the bio ball. It's tiny, dude. There's nothing. Oh my gosh, this game may just end. This might just be it. The bio ball is so tiny. Like, surprisingly enough, like, all the DPS here is the Valkyries. The Valkyries are critical here. If they can get rid of the mutas, you know, maybe the Marines can hold their own versus the lurkers. But that is 8 lurkers, man. And wow, actually the Valkyries got off massive damage. And that's exactly what Ample needed so that he can hold this high ground. So he's definitely not out of it, but that is so many lurkers. He cannot engage into it. The question to me at this point is, how close is the Defiler Mound to being completed? Both of these, okay, one of these Valkyries die. I don't think we have any vessels out, not just yet. If they are out, they definitely don't have a radiate. Oh man. He knows the situation he's in. He knows that this is so many lurkers that he's got to keep his high ground. He's got to keep the lurker count manageable and pick off as many as he can. It looks like that's a huge amount of bio, so hopefully he's got a decent racks count. But just gauging from what I can see on the minimap, it still doesn't look like there's that many Okay, it is 5 racks. All right, I like that. And going into 7 racks, he does have potential here. Somehow he needs to get rid of this Defiler, though. Like, if he can get rid of the Defiler and avoid the Lurker army, like what he's doing right now, he's definitely got a shot. And Yun, he doesn't know that this is happening, but he's moving Lurkers into position, and it's going to be right in the nick of time. Yun's econ is pretty good, sitting at 40 workers. Oh, whoa. That is a really good engagement from Ample. Plus a radiate, plus double radiate. Whoa, did Ample do it? He's going to snipe the lurkers, snipes the Nidus. That's exactly what he needs. Where's the Defiler? Oh my gosh, Yun, he was in such a good position. Now he loses, you know, the majority of his lurkers. He's lost all of the drones here. He's going to lose his lurkers as they get picked off left and right. I think the Marines might have +1 armor, which is why they're so tanky. He doesn't kill a single vessel. And this was catastrophic. On top of it, the Defiler, look at it. It was right there. Oh my gosh. And that means that this could be a 2-0 for Ample. That was the damage he needed. Now with 7 racks production, he's got tons of stuff. And it looks like he built dropships at the same time. So there's going to be a drop in the main, I think. No. Okay, it was a drop, but it ended up not actually getting off, at least not just yet. He's reloaded up and now he's hooking around for another drop. The Defiler technically saves himself right there, but the drop avoided the Scourge this time. Gets into the natural, or not the natural, the main. These Mutas are gonna die. There's 5 Marines in here. Oh my gosh. And behind this, Ample's not all in. He's taking a third base. I thought Yoon had it, man. I thought he had everything he needed. He sniped the Evolution Chamber. That is a big... At least he completed +1, but, you know, Terran's going to be +2, maybe +3 pretty soon. Terran's with the 7 barracks production is going to have another menacing attack coming in at the third base. This 1 Marine is still alive, by the way. Still getting kills. 1-1 is done. And... yeah, this is a heartbreaking way to lose. There's no way he can hold this. He tries to focus fire the lurkers, but it's not going to matter. That Nidus gets... Does he not have consume? He doesn't have the energy, I guess. Oh my gosh. Literally, I don't think it could have been unluckier for Yoon here in this game. So many moments that were just, like, off by, like, a second, right? Here, for example, off by half a second. The Defiler off by, like, 5 seconds. The drop out of position, or the Mutas and the Scourge out of position, you know, for like a second, and the drop gets in. And now you have Ample up, double the supply. He's got tanks. He's got tons of bio. He's got vessels. He can start going BCs. He's got his three bases up and running. And there's no potential for a counterattack with lurkers and defilers to really do much damage. So unfortunately, unless there's some type of miracle here, Yoon is going to be eliminated here. Ample had a really good comeback. I actually thought he was going to die to the Muta of Lurker combo, but ended up fending it off long enough to get a massive army. And now he is moments away from taking this game. He's got his +2 weapon power spike. Of course, Dark Swarm doesn't care at all about upgrades, but if there's no Dark Swarm, these units are going to get mowed down real fast. And if this attack at mid-left doesn't end the game, you got to imagine that this double drop in the main is going to do it. There is nothing. There's no Lings, no Lurkers, no Scourge. And this base is 100% dead. There's also Fire Bats mixed in, so Dark Swarm alone cannot save the day. He needs a Plague. That's good. He plagues his own hive, though. And that just makes the hive die even faster. The Spire's gonna die. These Marines are gonna get one-shotted, but not really a big deal. The Spire dies, that means that drops can just never be dealt with. And meanwhile, the army at mid-left, it's still there. I don't think he's gonna get the spore, the spawning pool, but he's gonna get everything else. Oh, he did get the pool, by the way. There it is, GG. And that means Ample, he is going to take the series 2-0, but it definitely could have been at least a tied series. Yoon had a shot there. He played really well in this game. And I think game 1 he also played really well. But Ample a little bit too strong in this series. Alright, well that is the end of Group G. Thank you guys so much for watching. Of course, if you like the cast or the content that StarCast is bringing, definitely consider becoming a Patreon supporter. Like I said, we appreciate the support. It funds these tournaments that we run. It also funds all the replays that we get from the pros, because as you know, pros do not give you replays for free. So definitely consider supporting through YouTube or Patreon. We're getting a rundown of how today went. Of course, Best beat Jeter earlier today. Ample took down Yoon. Then Best beat Ample. Then Yoon beat Jeter, so Vegeta got eliminated. And then Ample took down Yoon. It was basically 2-0s across the board. I really thought we were going to get a tied series in the final game, but not the case. And that's it. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in Group H.